you're all watching the game on your phones.
Yeah.
The September 25th, 2025 Des Moines City Council meeting is now called to order. Councilmember Oxiger will now lead us in the pledge. Please stand if you're able.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So thank you for coming out tonight. We were just talking about the game. Anybody who's braving the council meeting instead of the game, those maybe some people have it on your lap. So thanks for being here tonight. So if you are attending online or on Channel 21, please recognize that we cannot attend to our phones from the dais. And so if you have any technical problems or you want to report game stats, you could email cityclerk@desmoineswa.gov. So let the record show that all council members are present and that Councilmember Nutting is attending remotely tonight. And first thing up on the agenda, we have a special guest tonight, and we're going to be reading a proclamation, honoring a proclamation. So I would like to invite Sarah Tuttle up, and she's going to be giving a presentation about her organization that does amazing things for women.
Thank you. I am Sarah Tuttle. I am Executive Director of Lighthouse Northwest. We're a local nonprofit working to break the cycle of abuse one relationship at a time.
Does she need to put a microphone on?
I don't think it's on.
Hi again.
There we go.
There we go.
Hi, I'm Sarah Tuttle, the Executive Director of Lighthouse Northwest. We are a local nonprofit working to break the cycle of domestic abuse one relationship at a time. We want to help families and communities thrive. And I just want to thank the City of Des Moines, the City Council, all of the businesses, organizations, and individuals of our beautiful city. You have supported us tremendously financially. You've encouraged us. Your partnership allows us to do what we do, so we are grateful. And I'm excited to just share an update about what has happened at Lighthouse this past year. But I'm going to start with statistics. 1 in 3 women experience domestic abuse and 1 in 7 men. That's regardless of socioeconomic status, race, education level, or religion. And 10 million children witness violence in the home every year. That breaks down to about 1 in 15 kids. And what we know is those that witness violence in the home, they are 3 times as likely to become perpetrators or victims because it's a learned pattern of behavior. And lastly, domestic abuse is the 3rd leading cause of homelessness. And our little nonprofit this past year already has received over 500 phone calls from women needing housing and support. We work to connect them to Lighthouse, and if we don't have services, we connect them to all of our partnering organizations. So the statistics are alarming. The need is great, but I come bringing hope. After 12 years in this field, I want to share confidently that change is possible, breaking the cycle of abuse is possible for anyone given a chance, and provided critical resources and surrounded by a supportive community. And that's exactly what Lighthouse provides. Through our RISE program, it's designed for women and kids. And there's 2 parts. The first is Sasha's House. That's our community living home right here in Des Moines. And we have a 2-year program. And women and kids, they come to us facing homelessness due to domestic violence, and they graduate our program with sustainable new lives. And it's exciting to watch. Families partner with our care team. That's an advocate, a life coach, program manager, and mentor to achieve their goals and gain stability. We connect them to education and job training, and we partner with the community, businesses, and organizations for counseling, legal aid, anything the women might need, karate classes for fun, gym memberships, chiropractic care. Our heart is to connect the families deeply to the community so they feel that they are a part of what we're doing here. And I want to share that we have a 100% success rate for any family that completes our 2-year program. And what that means to us is they've completely broken the cycle of abuse, addiction, and poverty. They have a job with a livable wage. They've transitioned to independent permanent housing, and they are deeply connected to the community. They're not doing life alone. They have support and encouragement. They're not just surviving, they are thriving in life and relationships. That's what success looks like to us. And since January of this year, the City of Des Moines has helped us provide safety, housing, and critical care for 12 women and children at Sasha's House. That includes 6 residents of Des Moines and 6 of neighboring cities. What that equates to is 2,000 nights of safe housing. That's tremendous. We are so grateful for your help. And I'm thrilled to report that we fulfilled our minimum requirement of bed nights, residents served, and case management for 2025 within the first 2 quarters of this year. And we are just moving forward from there. Your funding is making a huge impact. I hope the city knows the impact that you're making right now and for generations to come. And I want to share one quick example. So we had a woman, 19-year-old, with her little girl that moved into Sasha's house with literally nothing but the clothing on her back. Not a suitcase, not a bag of clothes, just what they were wearing. They were escaping horrific abuse. And she shares, "My life before Sasha's house was so unstable. I grew up with a lot of dysfunction and childhood trauma and then a very toxic relationship. I just had no foundation or any independence. No example of what healthy relationships look like. No financial independence, no car, and no support in healing my trauma or an environment where I could do so. Sasha's house has given my body a safe space to breathe and to process my life in a healthy way. I feel so seen and taken care of and like I'm being set up for nothing but success. I'm not just given resources and told what to do. My care team empowers me and walks beside me every step of the way. They give me the tools I need to achieve my goals. I've also met other women who finished their 2-year program at Sasha's house years ago, yet are still connected to the Lighthouse community. They encourage and support me in my journey. At Sasha's house, I've found a peace that I've never experienced before. I've been given a chance to create a stable foundation that I didn't get as a child. I'm watching my daughter come out of her shell and thrive. She now has a huge community that love her. My life has done a total 360, and it's so beautiful. I found my footing. I see my life evolving. I'm growing in my independence. I have a car. I'm learning money management. I've started college classes so that I can provide for my daughter. I'm thriving and actually living, not just surviving. I'm so grateful for everything I've learned and the help I've received. This doesn't feel like a program. It's a family. And I feel like that represents our community. We are a family here. That's just one example of what's happening. The second part are our RISE support groups. Those are open to any woman that's experienced abuse or trauma at any point in her life. We have 19-year-olds all the way up to 70-year-olds participating. We dive into topics to address healing and from abuse. And I want to share quickly what one woman shared. She says, "I've lived through every type of abuse that the RISE support group teaches about. I didn't think I'd survive it, but I'm still here. RISE has not only been life-changing for me, but life-saving." And she goes on to share that a gift the RISE support group gave me that I was unprepared for was to witness the drastic changes in my son. He is playful again. The same little hands that used to punch me every night with dysregulation now hold my hand with tenderness. The RISE support group has given him a place to feel safe too. I'm so thankful for the way this community loves children. What we know is if we can help one family break the cycle of abuse, it doesn't end with them. It changes the trajectory of the generations to come and moves through their sphere of influence. Our participants and program graduates are part of the army that are educating the community and helping families find freedom from violence. It is exciting to see. Since January, 72 women and children have participated in our support group. That's 22 Des Moines residents and 50 from neighboring cities. We also last year launched a trial men's program to begin to look at how do we help men heal like the women are. And the group of men have looked at our curriculum and they're adapting it, and that's going to continue in this next year. We also have an awareness and action program where we come alongside the community to educate and show what does it look like to recognize abuse and how do we safely respond. Only 1% of those who experience abuse reach out to places like Lighthouse. 99% are friends, family, and the church. So we have to partner together to break the cycle. This past year, we've attended countless community events, walked beside local pastors and community members, and met with partnering organizations to improve services for survivors. Again, none of this would be possible without the support of the Des Moines community. And the last thing I want to share is next month, October, is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And there are so many ways that you all can make an impact. First, our online auction will go live tomorrow through August 18th. Second, we are selling raffle tickets and for a beautiful cabin stay near Mount Rainier. And every auction bid and raffle ticket, 100% of those proceeds go to Sasha's House to help the women we serve. Our annual Celebrate event is on October 18th, and that's where we come together, and I encourage you all to come to hear firsthand from the women in our program as they share their stories of transformation. We are going to enjoy an amazing Italian dinner, dessert dash. It's a lot of fun. It's a celebration for sure. I have postcards you can take from me with all of our information. Please help spread the word. I also have brochures. Again, you're the 99%, I'm the 1%. Help connect us to people. Thank you again for letting me share today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. So does the council have any questions for Sarah? We're going to be moving into a motion for the proclamation here in a moment, but if you have any questions for her, Councilmember Mahoney.
I appreciate the good work you've done over the years. I've really been impressed, but how much are the raffle tickets?
$25
A piece?
That's it. $25 a piece, and we're only selling 200, so 1 in 200 chance to win.
Oh, I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Councilmember Denny, did you have a question? No? All right. So we'll move into receive a motion. Councilmember Grace Matsui.
I move to approve the proclamation recognizing October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Have a second?
Second.
Deputy Mayor Steinmetz for the second. Any comments? Well, mine is, I've been a big supporter ever since I first found out about you guys, and I do the 5Ks that you do. They're going to be having a 5K coming up, and I feel deeply indebted to you just for making our entire community more healthy and being a safe space for people who need life, and you guys pour it out all over the place. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Without further ado, all in favor, say aye. Raise your right hand. Looks like it's a 7-0. Motion passes. Thank you so much. So we have this proclamation. I will sign this one. And Sarah, you have a copy there, so go ahead and feel free to read it.
All right, are we ready? Okay. Whereas every one of our residents deserves to live a life free from violence and abuse, and whereas anyone can be a victim of domestic violence regardless of age, sex, ability, ethnicity, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, or religion, and whereas children that grow up in violent homes are believed to be abused and neglected at a rate higher than the national average, and whereas domestic violence has devastating physical, emotional, and economic impacts on survivors, families, and the community as a whole, and whereas addressing this crisis requires the collective commitment of individuals, families, law enforcement, schools, healthcare providers, advocates, and community organizations working together to provide safety, support, and hope. And whereas Domestic Violence Awareness Month provides an excellent opportunity for our community to learn more about preventing domestic violence and to show support for the numerous organizations and individuals providing critical advocacy, services, and assistance to its victims. Now, therefore, the Des Moines City Council do hereby proclaim October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and encourages the community to raise awareness, promote prevention and intervention strategies, and ensure that victims and survivors of domestic violence know that they are not alone, are valued, and supported as they courageously move forward to enjoy full and healthy lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So we do have a special version with a seal for you of the proclamation. So if you could join us at the front, we'll have a photo opportunity. And council, could follow me down.
We should do it in front, so Jeremy's big head's in there too.
So do we have any correspondence not sorry, Bonnie. That's okay. Do you have any correspondence not previously received by council?
No additional, Mayor.
So now it's time for comments from the public. And just as a new feature, the public can now give comments via Zoom. If you are watching over Zoom, now you can actually give public comments over Zoom. But you do need to register ahead of time, just because there's some tech issues. You've got to get a link, and there's, things that need to happen. You can't just do it spontaneously, but it's a great feature. So we do have some people that have signed up to speak. So we ask that you keep your comments respectful. As a special note, also, it is campaign season, as many of us know, so we won't be able to receive any comments tonight that could be interpreted as supporting any of our candidates in town. And when you do come to the podium, state your name and your city of residence. So, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. So first up, we have Vicki Rudin, League of Women Voters.
I assume this is stayed on, or do I need to push it again? Okay, all right. Thank you for giving me just a brief minute. I wanted to announce something on behalf of the League. I am a Des Moines resident, just across the street, actually. The League of Women Voters is doing its biannual candidates forum. Some of you participated 2 years ago. This year, our candidates forum will be on October 14th. That's a Tuesday, beginning at 7 p.m. It will be at Wesley Gardens, not the Terrace, Wesley Gardens this year, in the community room chapel, which is on the main floor just as you come in the entrance. I want to compliment the Des Moines Council and candidates. You were the most prompt in getting back and acknowledging that you will participate. We are holding 2 other forums, one for the Highline School District and one for the Burien City Council. We have to do a lot more nudging to them, so we really appreciate the cooperation that comes from the Des Moines Council and candidates. As I said, it will be at 7 p.m. on October 14th. We are hoping to follow it an hour later with the 2 candidates for the legislative district. So plan for from 7 until 9, hopefully. We have co-hosts, the AAUW and Wesley Des Moines are also helping us in sponsoring this. Do you have any questions?
You could clarify AUW for me.
American Association of University Women.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, the Highline School District will be next Tuesday, September 30th, and that will be at the Burien Library and it will begin at 6 p.m. The following week, Tuesday, October 7th, will be the one for the Burien City Council, again from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Burien Library. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you
I
very
look forward to seeing you all there, and let others in the community know about this in the event they don't see our publicity. Thank you.
Next up, I have Jim Jolmar.
Yes, I'm Jim Jollymore. I've lived in Des Moines for 70 years. I went to Des Moines grade school. I went to Sylvester Junior High. I went to Highline High School, and I went to Mount Rainier when it opened up. I know Des Moines. So anyway, my subject tonight, and I don't know where we stand on this currently, but is short-term rentals. I don't know if it's too late to give any input on this or not, but anyway, I'll start out by saying, why are we doing this to ourselves? Many municipalities are choosing to ban these things because they get into these residential neighborhoods and there's problems. Now, I think when everybody thinks of a, well, everybody thinks of a short-term rental as a B&B, a nice, cozy little place where weary travelers rest their head and all this. But in truth, this is really not the case in a lot of situations. Short-term rentals, you're allowed to stay in them up to 29 days consecutively. And I don't know about you, but 29 days, you're not just a guest anymore. You're sort of part of the neighborhood. But anyway, with that thought in mind, I don't know if everybody's aware of it, or I don't know to the extent of this, but short-term rentals, King County uses them to house homeless people. Winter or whatnot, that people got to get out. But the trouble is, when you get this transient group coming in, many of them, yes, they're family people, they've had a hard luck story, but also there are people that, for one reason or another, choose not to work. You got drug addicts, you got people with behavior problems, people that have been evicted from their prior residence because they misbehaved in some sort of a way. So I can't understand why we want these things in a residential neighborhood. Uh-oh. But anyway, if we do want to have them, and they're not necessary because we got hotels, we got motels, we got plenty of traveler-type housing. But I don't know. I don't think it's a good idea. If we're going to have them, keep them downtown where people can walk to the restaurant or the, oh, geez. That it? No extension?
If you have another sentence to
Huh?
close. Can you close quickly, just a sentence or two? Do you want to close with a sentence or two?
Oh, yeah. Well, I just printed this out, the proposal, just a few minutes ago, actually. But I would suggest, if there's still time, right in there, that if you're going to have one of these things in a residential area, they should have boundary fences so that these short-term guests can determine where their boundaries are, what they've actually rented there. That's my thought on the thing. I hope you give it a second thought.
All right, thank you, Jim. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your thoughts with us. Next up, Richard Nagel.
Hello, my name is Rich Nagel. I am actually down there living on Redondo Beach Drive. And I just want to basically take this opportunity to give a big thank you to City Manager McCaffrey and Police Chief Bowe and Judge Leone and the engineer Owen, because what it did for us is that it allowed us to feel like you are coming down to help us understand that you understand our problem, okay, which is pretty well known. I will have to say that some of the episodes that have been reported over the course of actually a couple of years now could probably make a screenplay and be a great movie. But what I'd like to say is that after the meeting that night, it seems like they were flipping us the bird, I'm sorry, because they knew they had a meeting with regards to the racing down Redondo Beach Drive. I'm sorry if anybody didn't know what I was talking about. But essentially, I do appreciate we're making progress. It's a very slow progress, but I appreciate it. But one thing I want to make clear, Chief Bowe said something about that we don't appreciate, we don't like the police coming down. I have to, out of hand, I have to reject that. I don't know anybody in the Redondo Beach area that doesn't like the police. Now, he even said they don't even want to go down there. I suspect that the reason they don't want to go down is because they don't feel like they're making a real positive effect. They're there for 15, 20 minutes, and it stops for maybe 45, and the next thing you know, the cruisers are back. And I don't even want to call them cruisers. They're racers. So I want to have to say is like, we're doing the best we can with your help and with the police chief's help. We're trying to make progress, and I'm really looking excited for the speed bumps that are supposed to come soon. I'm not really sure where they're supposed to go. Maybe Engineer Owen would enlighten me on that. So that's progress. What I want to say to you, though, is that I've said this before. If there is, I have alarms on my car to protect my property. If I'm in a situation, I have locks on my door to protect break-ins, and that's, again, protecting my property. Well, with this going on in this activity, it really is affecting my property values, which is I am losing money. I'm getting stolen from by these people that are really affecting our community. So I want to encourage you to keep working with us. Let's work a little bit harder because they do seem to be taking advantage of this law. So any questions, I'll be happy to answer, but I only have 14 seconds, 13, so I just want to say thank you again. Thank you for coming, and I don't see, there he is. Thank you, and I appreciate it, I really do. You've enlightened us. Though I do say I'm a little disappointed in the sense that a lot of the stuff you said were obstacles that the state has put on you, and that disappointed me. So anyway, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you for making the time to come down tonight. All right, is there anybody here who came in this evening wanting or expecting to speak but did not realize that you needed to sign in order to do so? All right, I'll pass those back to you guys. So next up, we have regional committee reports, and currently the council is operating on a committee of the whole model where we don't have separate communities, but the entire council is briefed on issues for our internal or our local issues, but some council members do serve on regional tables. And so this is a time to open up to not necessarily a briefing of the entire meeting that they attend maybe, but if there were issues at these regional tables that our community would be interested in, this is an opportunity for our council members to share. So I want to open the dais up for council members who are sharing. Councilmember Harris and then Councilmember Mahoney.
Thank you. I attended the Regional Transit Committee meeting last week, and basically we moved forward on the Metroflex allocations for the area. This is essentially it's like a bus and van service, portal to portal. I'm going to pass on to the city manager and the council the map. It's, you know, when you're part of these committees, you're supposed to represent the entire area, and it's a zero-sum game. However, it is just a fact that we are a we're a desert in the south end of town in terms of any kind of connectivity. We have 2 light rail stations coming in, and the reason I brought it up is that their modeling and their scoring system essentially makes it so that the rich get richer. It's very demand-based, and since there are areas that already have built-out transit systems, they tend to get prioritized. And I've tried to make the point in my colleagues in Federal Way that the Rapid Ride A was the first of the Rapid Ride lines, and it was built at a time where we had more money and so forth, and that gave it time to build engagement. But right now, proximity to a light rail station does not factor into the scoring system. And at some point, if there's something the city can do to make proximity to these new stations something that gives us a bump, because that was part of the decision-making, if I recall correctly, in getting the 635 shuttle. We have to have something that elevates us on this scoring system, or we're never going to get anywhere with it, because you can't build demand if the scoring system is based on existing demand. So just something to, and they also have a partnership program. You can pay to bump up your scoring system. So if there's any kind of 2-step state grant that we could apply for that would then get us into this partnership stream, that might be a path forward. But that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Mahoney.
Thank you, Mayor. Yesterday, we held the Highline Forum here at the police station. The city manager and myself gave a city presentation. Thought it went well. People were excited to hear some of the progress and some of our opportunities in the near future. There was a conversation concerning the Part 150 noise study. The highlight I'll share with everybody is on September 30th at Des Moines at the Parkside Elementary. I believe it's 6 o'clock, 6 to 8 or something like that. There's the public forum for information to speak to representatives of the airport and others. We also had Executive Director Metrick. He came on and he was talking about the replacement for Lance. You know, it's been a process that he's been working with, and that continues to go on, and we hope to hear something soon. And of course, we heard about funding for the Environmental Improvement Program, which I know that we can on occasion match, or the 2-to-1 match. That was, and then of course the START update. We're very active in START. We have some great active members there, and that was pretty much it. It was a pretty meeting that met on time, and just kind of informationally got to hear some of the new news. So that's all I have.
Great. Thanks for hosting. Appreciate that. Anyone else? Councilmember Oxiger.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. On September 19th, the South King Housing and Homeless Partnership had a legislative forum. We met at the Tukwila Community Center, and basically it was to bring the legislature up to date on what we're doing. Each of the cities is granted a small pot of money to deal with housing and homelessness, but it doesn't add up to the amount of money that you could really do a lot with. So through the partnership, what several of the cities in South King County are doing is they're pooling their resources to create housing projects and to actually get units online. And one of the earliest efforts that we've made was with Victoria Place here in Des Moines, and it's 20 units that were renovated for low-income housing, and the bulk of the forum was to encourage the legislature that we're making the best use of the money that is possible, and that we'd like more. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. All right, I serve on the Puget Sound Regional Council Executive Board, and what the Puget Sound Regional Council does basically is they are the funnel for federal transportation dollars into our 4-county region. So that's King, Snohomish, Pierce, and Kitsap counties. And so they do that through, they are the ones that review our comprehensive plan to make sure that we align with all of these parameters, and then once we do, then we qualify for grant funding. That's kind of a short version of it. So the executive board met today, this morning, and I would say about the only thing that we discussed that might be of primary interest to the city of Des Moines is the ferry discussion. They are very pro ferries, and they're always at the state legislature in Washington, D.C., vying for money for ferries in the Puget Sound. And they have they're moving forward with their regional transportation plan and have a set of maps. So they have 4 options that they're gonna consider. On all of those options, whatever option they're considering, they have this map, and on all the maps, they have future ferry routes in the Puget Sound, including some in Lake Washington and one over by Ballard or something like that. But the one that, it's all a lot of it is wish listing, right? But our ferry route as a wish is not on this map. And Tacoma, they've got, their ferry route wish was not on the map. So we need to keep up with making sure that we're on the map. So that's going to be an ask for later in the meeting. So that's my report. All right. Next up is our city manager report. I'm going to turn the baton over to City Manager Catherine Caffrey.
Mayor and Council, we have one pretty meaty item that's on the agenda, and then at the end I'll want to highlight one of the consent items, but I'll invite up Chief Bowe. First, just a comment to our large viewing audience about the presentations tonight. We are having some projector issues, so that's why the council has printouts again of everything, so especially when we get into ones with charts and things like that, you can see clearly. The recording that will be online will have the crisp PowerPoints, so we're just dealing with a temporary issue with the projector that we'll figure out. So it'll be kind of fuzzy for people in the audience, we're sorry, but we'll get it fixed for next week. So with that, Chief Bowe, take it away.
All right, wonderful, thank you all. Tonight we have some updates for the council on a couple of different topics, and I brought my safety blanket, CSO Tanya's here as well to help me with a couple of these slides. I do have a clicker. Oh, the clicker works though, so some things are working great tonight. All right, a little bit about what we're going to cover tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about the 2024 Crimes in Washington report. We'll go through what that looks like and why that report is being presented now instead of earlier in the year. We're going to talk through some of the animal control options, kind of where we're at, how we got here, and then some of the things that we're just brainstorming through that are options looking to the future. And then really talk about some of our summer and fall outreach efforts. So Crimes in Washington report is an annual report. And it is every agency in the state submits all of their data to the Washington State Sheriff's and Police Chief Association, WASPIC. WASPIC then is tasked and funded by the Criminal Justice Training Commission to produce one standardized report so you can compare apples to apples. We're all reporting the exact same data. It's a third party that analyzes and scrubs the data, make sure all the data is the exact same thing across the state, and then they reproduce it. We are unique in that it's actually the Association of Police Chiefs and Sheriffs is the one tasked to do this, but the oversight for that is the Criminal Justice Training Commission, who actually uses state funds to fund this project. The reason why the data is delayed is because they don't produce a report until July, and then they send it out to all the agencies, and there's a last opportunity for any corrections if there's errors in our data after they give it to us, and then it's published in early August. So a little bit about universal crime reporting. there's a couple things to understand about how we get to universal crime reporting. Basically, if you go way back in the Wayback Machine, the International Association of Chiefs of Police said, hey, we have to have a way to talk about crime and to define crime so it's the same thing. So we all understand what a burglary is, but we all speak the same language. There was a time before that where stop signs were different colors and different shapes and different sizes, and we had different crimes, and everybody had their own interpretations based on local jurisdiction. And basically what they said is we have to start standardizing some of this. So the work started with the International Association of Chiefs of Police, and then it actually transitioned over to a congressional mandate, and it transitioned into the FBI being the association responsible for kind of standardizing some of this nomenclature. And they created a summary-based reporting system, and it's going to be important when we start talking historical stats versus current stats. So a summary system says for every event, we report the highest crime associated with that event. So if you have a burglary with a domestic violence assault where they steal a police car and then they shoot somebody, the shooting is the highest caliber crime. Everything underneath that is not counted separately. It is one event, one crime stat. So the crime stat in that case would be the shooting, and the stolen car, the domestic violence assault, and the burglary would not be captured on old crime stats. Basically, as we move forward, we're like, we are missing a ton of rich data by doing that, and they came up with the NIBRS system. So since 2018, we've been using the NIBRS system, and NIBRS captures hundreds of data points on every single crime, including all of the crimes, all of the relationships, all of the people, all of the known factors on a crime, and you end up with these really rich data sets, right? So instead of just saying, hey, stolen property, I now can tell you the age of people who steal property. I can tell you the demographics. I can tell you the financial components of it. There's how people are connected. Is it family-based theft? Is it stranger theft? Is it business theft? All of that is now captured, so we get much richer data by using NIBRS. The disadvantage is you can't compare apples to apples, because undoubtedly your crime rates look like they went up substantially when you start reporting all crime instead of just reporting hierarchy crime. And that's a mistake a lot of people make, is that they look at data from 1920 or you can go back 1980 and compare it to data for today, and you have to do a little bit more diving and a lot more scrubbing to get an accurate data set than just using the crime rate from the FBI, if that's the only data point you use. So, a little bit about state trends. One of the things that's nice is that we get across the state, we can see what's going on statewide, and then I'll break it down to what's going on here in our city. Basically, you're hearing a lot of celebration if you follow the media about crime rates have finally started to tick back down. We did have a period of pretty escalated rates from 2020 on, and some of those trends have now turned. Specifically, we're seeing violent crime, property crime pretty significantly turning that trend. One of the challenges as we look at this is that you have to look at it cumulative over time, so we can celebrate 1 year of positive, and we should celebrate that we broke a bad trend. We also need to recognize that most of our crime is still higher than 2020. So if you look at a long range, we actually have seen growth in crime in the state of Washington over time. And that's not consistent with what we're seeing on the national lens, to be transparent. What you're seeing on the national lens is that if you look at a 5-year study of crime, on the national lens, you're actually seeing crime go down more substantially than you're seeing in Washington. So we are lagging on some of those national trends. One of the places that you see that is like violent crime. So violent crime, if you look at it in the federal level, it's down 6% from 2019 to 2024. If you look at it here in Washington, it's up 8% over the same window. So while we celebrate, it went down last year, we have to be acknowledging that over time, we still are struggling with an upward trend in this state, and definitely struggling with lagging national trends. A little bit about your police officers in the state of Washington, in police departments, and I looked only at police departments. I also could pull sheriff's data, but it's quite frankly pretty comparable. Police departments in the state tend to staff 1.3 officers per 1,000 residents. That's the average statewide. So that's including taking in places that have very low crime rates and applying them to this metric. So this is statewide, just taking a quick snapshot. This many people, this many police officers is 1.3 officers per 1,000 residents. Here in Des Moines, we actually staff below that rate. We staff at 1.08 officers per 1,000. And to get us up to what would be the state average, so just to be an average staffed police department, not taking into consideration all of the other factors that go into staffing, it would take 7 additional officers just to get to the state average here. So that's kind of a little bit about where we staff. And the reason I bring that up is everything you love about police and everything your community demands about police comes in an assessment of workload. So as we look at it, it's not just officers per 1,000, it's also what are the demands of our community? What does our community want? So I can get officers to every 911 call, and if they have no time left to do a traffic stop, that's not a success. So what gets lost when we start staffing at lower numbers is the traffic stops, the proactive policing, the training, the turnover ratios, walking through parks, high visibility patrols, all of those things that you hear our community come in here and say, this is what we want. That's what gets lost if we have low staffing levels, and that's where you struggle, is trying to push where can we find capacity to do those things. We can still get to the 911 calls, but we have to prioritize, and I will always prioritize that as our first. Some of those other things fall off. So just as you're looking at this, it's not just a number, it's also an assessment of workload. So as you think about that number, also think of our community needs versus maybe Sammamish community needs. We may have a different level of need for our level of staffing if you compare us just to a state average when you're looking at that. So it's a much broader discussion, but I do want to bring that up. I also want to bring up that number at 1.3, the state of Washington is dead last in the nation. We staff less police officers per capita than anywhere else in the entire United States. There's not another state behind us. We are the worst. That's been one of the big things that you heard during the state election. It's one of the things we're going to talk about tonight a little bit with House Bill 2015 is everybody recognizes that we have to find ways to increase the overall staffing rate. That's not here, that's a state discussion, but we have to find ways to get more adequate levels of policing in our society. Couple other things I think are interesting. I'm a big fan of trying to get the 30 by 30, which is 30% female police officers. I think that's an important goal to set. Right now in this state we're at about 12. There's a lot of work we have to do in attracting women into our profession. There is definitely work to be done there, and it's something that we're actively working on. We actually have an officer starting tomorrow. Melanie will be starting tomorrow. So we are working actively and aggressively to get people who represent our community both from all lenses, including adding female officers. And then a couple other trends we see, civilian employee hires has actually increased, so we are seeing a greater investment in civilian employees. A lot of that is falling within co-responder world. Cities like Seattle that opened up their CARES program, they added a lot of civilian employees under that police umbrella. And then last stat, just I always think is interesting, is you look at this job and kind of the aggression towards officers, and we do still see a very high level of officers assaulted in the state. So we do still see that underlying aggression towards police officers that pops up in the officer assault stats. So Des Moines trends. What we're seeing and we should be celebrating is that our crime rate has definitely started to tick down. So in 2024, we saw about an 11% reduction in overall Part A crimes. So Part A crimes are generally your felony and your larger level crimes. And some of these are big, and some of these I think are a direct result of some decisions made here and some funding decisions. 46% reduction in auto theft and a substantial reduction in burglary, which I think is all intertwined, quite frankly. I think some of the programs we have like Flock are very effective on that. I think when you steal a car and police show up very rapidly and there's intervention, I think that has a really powerful impact on reducing auto thefts and holding people accountable for auto thefts. So I think some of that is very directly a result of the work that we do here in this room as well as on the street. We also seeing a fairly substantial decrease in weapons crimes here in our city, which is certainly something that we should be celebrating. The one thing that we do see a notable increase is simple assault, which I'm not sure that I'm 100% tracking why that is, because as you look at all the other things that normally go with simple assault, the harassment, the felony assaults, and the other things that normally are kind of affiliated in a block of crimes, simple assault is isolated, the other crimes don't have an upward trend. So I'm not sure that I'm fully tracking the why on that yet, but it's something I'm tracking, at least paying attention to, is that something that's an anomaly on here. And another thing is the increase in drug violations. You'll see a fairly substantial number on there, about 200% increase in drug arrests. What you're seeing on there is legislative change. We've seen the ability for law enforcement officers to enforce the drug laws has changed over the last couple of years, so you're seeing a rather rapid increase in every jurisdiction in drug violations. It's not necessarily that the drugs are more prevalent as much as the ability to make arrests for the drugs has been broadened. There was also a discussion around Group B offenses. So Group B tend to be more of your misdemeanor level offenses. And these are only captured in neighbors under arrest, not necessarily total number. And there's a reason for that. So things like DUI are included in here. There's not a way to capture how many people actually were driving impaired in the last 12 months. There's only a way to capture how many people we arrested for impaired driving. So in this case, you're only capturing the rest, because some of these you just can't capture how many people, drunkenness, how many people were drunk in public. Hard to capture that number compared to capturing how many people were arrested for a crime related to public intoxication. With this slide, I'm going to give a big caveat. One of the warnings on the NIVERS report on like page 1 or 2 is don't do this. So I went ahead and did it. They say not to compare yourself to other cities because there's so many variables when you look at crime stats that go into this. So as you look at crime rate in the report is set to per 1,000 residents, which is kind of a industry standard in how we talk about officers per 1,000, crime per 1,000, crime rate. The variables that go into this, like I'll give you great examples. I took Tukwila off here entirely. You'll notice these are all the South King County cities except for Tukwila. Part of the reason I did that is the Tukwila stat looks really dramatic when you put it up there. And it's because it's set to per 1,000. Tukwila has a very, very small residential population. They have a massive daytime population between the mall and the hotels and the conference center. So it's a little bit unfair to put their number up there because you're setting it to permanent residents, which is not a fair metric for them. You'll see Port of Seattle's another one. Their number's infinite because they have almost no residential in Port of Seattle. So I took some of the ones off that are just kind of inflammatory and not really relevant. But as you look, we, in the big picture, have a relatively low crime rate. I want to put a big caveat on that. We are talking about South King County. If I put other cities on here, I could make this say something very different, but I'm trying to be fairly honest in how I present stats instead of being inflammatory. I took out the ones that are really inflammatory. I also took out the communities that are dramatically safer than we are. We have real crime in our community. I will not hide that we have real crime in our community. I'm just trying to give a snapshot that in the picture of South King County, we fall in the lower third of South King County. A little bit about speed cameras. This discussion comes up quite a bit. One of the reasons I put the slide up here is not just to show the total numbers, which obviously thousands of tickets and lots of revenue, and that's kind of where the discussion a lot of times goes, but really what is important to me is that the number's going down. And I know when you do budget, you don't want me to say that, but the reality is that's a successful program. A successful program for anything in my world is actually that we drive everything to zero. 0 fatalities on a roadway, 0 assaults, 0 shootings. Our goal is to drive stuff to 0. So as we look at speed cameras, when I see numbers going down, I actually am celebrating that the cameras are having the effect of reducing the violations. So it is actually something we should celebrate. I know from a budgetary standpoint, we have all the challenges that come with it. It's a decreasing revenue source, but it is good to see less. It's also good to see that they're impactful on the recidivism rate, where you see very few people are getting 3 citations. Most people are figuring it out after the first one or the second one and avoiding either the area or the driving behavior that's getting the ticket, one of the two. On real tickets, and these are the officers pulling you over, giving you tickets, 368 parking violations, and I pulled these numbers a couple weeks ago, so they're a little bit outdated, but they give you the big picture. 731 speeding stop sign violations, 148 criminal traffic tickets. Those are your DUI, driving under the influence, reckless and negligent driving tickets. And those are pulled out of the electronic ticketing software. The judge and court are back there and will roll their eyes when I say this, but I don't use those. I have a thing for writing paper tickets and going old school. So my tickets have to get captured in a different metric, but I write tickets as well, and there's probably another 75 tickets that are not captured on here because they're written in paper format. I want to talk a little bit, and actually it's a little follow-up on your comments there, sir. So I feel like I said, as we were talking about our work in Redondo and our Redondo emphasis, was actually that we were really working very hard to be creative in our solutions to Redondo and to be very present in Redondo. And one of my beliefs is that what gets counted is what gets done. So our officers this summer have had to log all their time in Redondo, all their activities in Redondo, and then they've had metrics that they have to report out on. And this is just a summary of what we saw in Redondo here in the last couple of months as we've really worked us on a focal issue. And they have a lot of challenges. For those who don't know, Redondo definitely struggles with a lot of challenges related to behavior of people using their roadways at night, 24 hours a day, but particularly in the evenings. So I really want to capture here, we spent 667 dedicated police officer hours in Redondo this summer. That's a substantial number for, as we just had the discussion about how much available time we have and the size of our police department. We've issued 103 of those tickets I just talked about have been issued in Redondo. 365 parking infractions have been issued in Redondo. So the reason I capture this is just say this is what the officers are doing to really stay focused on this problem over the summer and dedicating and counting their time towards working on this problem. So I just want to make sure that that's captured. That presentation, I think, was about an hour long, had about 30 slides, which I've shared with council, most of which are database slides that will help you see the traffic collision rates. And we really went through and did a deep dive into the Redondo over the last several years, as well as what we've done this summer to try to rectify or make improvements on some of the community issues. Animal control. I'm going to open this up with a disclaimer. This is just brainstorming. This is your chief throwing stuff out there. Probably just throwing a bunch of lost leaders out there, but I just want you guys to know what we're thinking. Ultimately, you are going to have a very vibrant conversation with this at some point during budget season, and a lot of this is napkin math numbers. It's stuff that I'm trying to get an understanding of what we're looking at, but by all means, you can say $0 or $5 million. It's up to you where you want to go with this. This is just something to kind of prime that conversation. So a little bit of history about animal control in our community. I'm the new guy here, so I had to call a friend or two to get some of this history, but I want to start out with the in-house animal control officer. I've known Jan for years and years and years. Everybody here knows Jan. Jan did over 30 years here in our community, retired in 2019, and that was a program that she really built in our animal control. She built our sheltering through a series of relationships with different vets. She had kennels and crates set up behind the police department. She had all sorts of this kind of makeshift program that she had come up with over the time she was here. And she was dedicated at a level that you will never be able to duplicate. I'm going to be fully transparent. Like, she was the 24/7 response. She was the kennel. She was everything. That is not normal, and probably not an expectation that we're going to hire somebody that is going to be another Jan. That is kind of a unicorn is what I call her. But she did some amazing things and spent 30 years serving our community in an amazing way. After she retires, we hired a couple of different people to try to work on that program internally. It didn't work out, and we moved on to a contract with CARES. CARES has animal control officers that I swear in, so they do have the authority to limited commission authority to write tickets and do enforcement action. Under their contract, they were responsible for doing some education and community engagement related to licensing and leash laws and some other stuff. They handle all the criminal investigations, reporting to the court in the courtroom testimony. And I will tell you that's important because that's very specialized work. I would not be able to do it because I don't actually know how you prove animal abuse. In a lot of cases, I call somebody who is an expert in that field because it's a specialized body of work. They are specialized in that work, very similar to other people, Jan being one of them, who are very specialized in how to identify different levels of abuse in an animal. And then they ran their kennel services through the Berrien Shelter. So we had unlimited access to use the Berrien Shelter for strays, kennel services, et cetera. 2025, we had some really hard budget conversations in here. Some of those budget conversations fell to me to find a lot of money out of my budget. That included freezing 2 commissioned police officer positions, $650,000 reduction in my fleet, closing the Redondo storefront, laying off a crime analyst and eliminating her position. And I'm going to say laying off from the general fund standpoint. My GPS co-responder, we were very blessed in that we worked with WASPIC and got a grant to keep her funded through 2027, but that is money that's outside of the general fund, and rather I'm limping her along with grant money until we can get a long-term solution there. But I just want to be transparent that her position was cut out of the general fund as we tried to find about $4.5 million worth of cuts. With that came a cut to CARES. That was one of the services that we had to add to the pot because we had to maintain that 911 response capability. So that CARES reduction, I worked with Deborah George. You guys gave me a budget of $20,000 and said get what you can get, which I am incredibly grateful for, by the way, because I honestly think this is such specialized work. Expecting your average police officer to do this, it is specialized and requires a certain level of training to do this that the average officer probably doesn't have. She agreed to do 5 criminal response cases a month, with the caveat that she's a secondary dispatch. So we send a police officer to evaluate. Police officer says, yep, this looks like it's outside of my scope or my skill. I'm gonna phone a friend. 24/7 response then comes from the animal control officers employed through Berry and CARES. If we go over our 5, we pay $75 an hour for every hour associated with that event. So we do have a little catch-all that I can technically go over 5. She calls me when I'm at 4 and says you got 1 more and then you're getting billed. That will be every hour associated with that case. So that is courtroom testimony, that is kennel time, that will get very expensive very quick if we have a significant criminal event over our 5. So we're fairly judicious with how we do that. And we don't have a stray sheltering agreement right now. So there isn't go take your dogs there. I found a dog in Berry and sheltering agreement does not exist in the city of Des Moines right now. So some things to throw out there as I'm brainstorming, and I want to be really, really clear that these are brainstorming. There's no promises. I haven't negotiated any of these contracts. I don't know that this works in the format I'm presenting. It's just stuff for thought. So one thing that we can consider is in 2024, we paid $100,000 for our last contract. It was an annual contract, as I described with CARES. And that is unlimited animal control, automatic direct dispatching. So you don't, our dispatch, when you call the 911 number, they actually transfer it directly to CARES. So a police officer doesn't run the intervening component of that. It doesn't matter how many calls, be it 50 or 5, it's a fixed rate contract. They did proactive enforcement under their contract, community engagement. They had to staff the farmer's market so many days. There was items like that built into their contract. And then stray sheltering was their responsibility. So any dog that was located within the city, they would contact CARES, and CARES would have an obligation to return the dog to owner or get the dog into the adoption system. And I should probably put, I have it on the slide here, but I probably should make clear too, one of the things as we're talking about these enhancements is funding them is going to be key. And we've talked a lot about DocuPet, and I'm not going down that road totally right now, but DocuPet is an option that if we can get people buying their licenses, it's going to increase revenue, and you all have been very committed to that revenue will go back to finding solutions. So as we talk about how do we solve the problem, part of that is we need to get people to get their animals licensed because it, A, makes it more efficient to get them back if they do get lost, and B, is how we're going to fund these services in the future. I did reach out to King County Animal Control, got a napkin math number from them. Just over $245,000 is what it would cost to go back to King County Regional Animal Control as a provider. They are a little bit unique in, unlike other entities, they tell you what the service is. It's not an a la carte system where we just want this or we want this or we want it to look this way. They tell you how they're going to do animal control. They do animal control exactly the same way for every single one of their customers. Their shelter is run with the same set of rules. All of the control over animal control goes to them, and you wash your hands of everything, but you also lose that ability to tailor it to your jurisdiction to some extent. And it also includes licensing. They do the licensing. They handle the sales of license, the revenues from licensing, and actually have, as the napkin math bit, it actually has a charge on there for handling licensing services. So it will have a little bit of an effect in that it's easier in some ways, but it also means that we have very limited control over how that looks with animal control in our city. And then I kind of looked at a hybrid. Hybrid being hire an in-house animal control officer, but don't expect that they're going to be that 24/7 response. We also need to have some sort of a contract for 24/7 response. And then some sort of a shelter contract. And this is where I say, this is one of those big caveat items that I'm going to put out there. I haven't found a single person that has capacity right now in our entire world as it relates to animal sheltering. So this is going to be a challenge to find someone or a way to deliver sheltering services under contract, but it's an idea as we're kind of building out what could this hybrid look like, would be working through some sort of a plan, be it, I know there's some people in our community who really would like to start a local shelter, and find a way to do that. We would have to really work through what this could look like, but there's some options there as I'm brainstorming it. And one of the benefits of this is that we maintain all of our licensing. So one of the things with RASC, King County Regional Animal Control, is you give them everything. Here, we still manage, control our licensing component and revenues. Quick hit on DocuPet. DocuPet, we estimate about $40,000 in revenue. That is based on the average number of licenses for a community our size as DocuPet sees it. So DocuPet said, this is what you should expect. That requires that you do community engagement, that your community is out there actively. They're canvassing neighborhoods. We have a lot of volunteers. I see Jamie's here. A lot of volunteers have really said they want to step up and be part of this and be the ones knocking on doors and handing stuff out and going to the farmer's market and really building it out so that we can actually get to the point that we're generating that $40,000. And then the assumptions in the graph there, a couple of assumptions that I just want to be clear. The CARES number is based on the 2024 contract. I don't know what a new negotiation would look like if that was the direction of the council. And the hybrid assumes that there is somebody to provide shelter, which I don't know that that exists right now. That's something we'd have to work through in the hybrid option. What does that look like? And with that, I am going to turn it over to my phone a friend here, and I'm going to get a drink of water. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. So I am going to talk a little bit about our summer and what the fall looks like. Summer for us was a little unique this year. School didn't get out to almost the end of June. So some of our summer included still things with our schools. So we did Hero Day and hung out with a lot of kids. We visited a lot of daycares before they got out of school. We were a part of the Children's Fair that was held through the Legacy Foundation over at the Field House, which was awesome. We gave away bike helmets. I'm now officially out of bike helmets. We had 2 booths separate from the city booth at our farmers market. One of those we did use to push our animal control license and educate people. And the other one we wanted to talk about community outreach and how to keep our community safe. Community outreach is really about getting our neighborhoods together and fighting crime with us. Safe communities are everyone's responsibility, and the police department unfortunately cannot be everywhere at every second of every day to make sure your neighborhood is safe. So we really count on our community to call and utilize the services that are available. I was out at Camp Chaos. I do understand why it is called Camp Chaos. And we let the kids climb through police cars, and we had a lot of safety talks, and yeah. National Night Out for us is always a huge event. We average about 30 parties every single August. This year we had 32 in total. It is physically impossible for me to make it to every party, so I do share the wealth with all of our city leaders and the chief and patrol, and everyone gets assigned so many parties that they have to follow and get involved with. And then we also work with Special Olympics, and we did the torch run, which we do every year through our city. So if you're not aware of that, we do a big sign up, and you are more than welcome to come up and run with us. Well, run with them, because I'm not running ever. But it is an option. But the summer is really about just being in the community. I used to hang out in Redondo a lot more, but people down there, they all know me, so it's not as fun. But I was part of, we have meals that are provided for people 18 and under during the summer through our food bank. And so we had 5 locations in our city, so we tried to make an appearance at every one. I spent a lot of time at Midway Park. That is one of our bigger communities that needed the most assistance. So unfortunately, because I'm there, I don't get pictures. I'm not a good photographer and interactor, but we did a whole bunch of ice cream because it was a hot summer, so I spent a lot of money on ice cream. But it's very important that we're out in the community during the summer. That's when we're going to reach more people, and so we do try to pull ourselves out of the office and get out in the community. All right, so we're going into our fall, which is kind of busy for us. Couple programs that are coming back. We are in our local schools. I have a program called Lunch with the Cop, And we are at Woodmont Elementary and Parkside, where I have 2 different patrol teams that are assigned to those schools, and their responsibility is to go out and just hang out and have lunch with kids. It's taken some work to get them all on board, but they have a great time. I get a lot of the officers out at lunchtime running around, playing basketball. They can come in and eat with the kids if they choose to. The schools love it, the kids love it. It is a really good way to build relationships with our children. And one of our kind of win stories is our officers were out at one of the schools. I won't get into specifics. But about a week after that visit, there was a domestic violence situation in a home, and that officer showed up and the kid was there, and they go, hey, I remember you from my school. So the officer was able to get the kid out of the situation, get him to school, and they felt comfortable with them. So for me, that was a win, because that's really what it's all about. We also are back doing our community academies. We are doing an advanced academy that is running currently. It is a 4-week program. We have about 7 to 8 people in that class. We're halfway through, so we have 2 more sessions. Our basic academy, unfortunately, was not able to go this fall because of lack of participation from our community. So I really need community to stand up and want to learn more about the police department and what we do, and maybe we can pull that off in the spring. We are back to Coffee with a Cop. We take off for the summer, but those are coming back. National Coffee with a Cop Day is October 1st. We will be at Highline Community College, where we go every year for National Coffee with a Cop Day. So they have snacks, which is really cool. They always have donuts. But we have donuts and coffee, and it's an opportunity for the community to get to know the officers that work in our city on more of a personal level. We're not going to really come in there with a presentation. We're just there. So if you have questions about our job, how to apply, we're here to just kind of be there. Generally, I have a couple command staff, a patrol team, our crisis outreach responder, our code enforcement. I kind of force everyone to go. It's kind of my job. I run around and yell, you got to go, we got to go. And then we're going to follow up at the end of the year with our, it's actually the Parks Department. We're partnering with them this year, and we will be doing Santa breakfast with cops reading stories in the beginning. What else do I have going on? I think that's about it.
Mention the resource fair you're planning.
Oh, yeah, that was it. We have one more big event coming in. October 18th will be our fall resource fair. It is designed as a family event. It's a community resource fair with a lot of different resources for our community members. It's going to be held at the Redondo Square, which is our kind of nexus to all of our neighboring communities. We have Kent and we have Federal Way also participating in that with us. But it's going to be a fun few hours. There'll be, face painting, keeping your kids occupied while you're there getting the information that you may or may not need, but we will all be there with stuff. It's a stuff thing. We will be in the parking lot somewhere near Planet Fitness. I'm working on an inside location because October in this area includes rain. So I want to make sure that we're all dry. Thank you for reminding me. I think that's it. Yes, ma'am. I'm done. Oh, what time is the resource fair? From 10 to 1. It's Saturday, October 18th. The flyers are just picked up today, so they will start. You'll see them around the community, and I'll be emailing it out and all of that fun stuff also. I think that is all that I have. I don't do very much, during the year, so I think that'll keep me busy. You're welcome. What time is Coffee with Cop? 11. 11 o'clock.
In the cafeteria.
In Building 8.
Well, you just got a really robust presentation from our police department. We're happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Mahoney, then Councilmember Harris.
So Chief, thank you for the presentation. Tanya, as always, love you in the community. You do such wonderful work. I want to talk about your staff morale. From what I understand, are they still working a considerable amount of overtime, and often on shifts they're running short staff due to injuries, vacations, those kind of things with job relations. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's there's no fat in your police department. Well, I mean, one would argue, but as you look at the staffing, generally speaking, a patrol shift is one sergeant, one officer in charge or corporal, and 4 officers if we're full staffed right now. Because we have people in the academy and people on the uptake, it's 3 officers, a corporal, and a sergeant is kind of where we're staffing right now. So yeah, we're definitely thin. Once you start adding that people need vacation, we're going to talk about House Bill 2015 tonight. There's a ton of training that comes with that, and it's mandated, so that money doesn't come free. It comes with a lot of time that's required. So the answer is, a very long answer to a short question is, yeah, it takes a lot when you don't have a lot of extra resources to accomplish that, and it takes a lot of overtime to make sure we always have resources available to get those 911 calls with the response times that are, quite frankly, amazing in this city. So yes.
Thank you. And are you still dealing with a very serious competitive market where there basically a lot of people are robbing Peter to pay Paul in the general crime scene where, you know, I mean, there's $50,000 bonuses I think they are now, or 40 for other cities, for officers to transfer to another city?
That's correct. Yeah, 40 to 50,000 is not unusual. And one of the big things that we have as a challenge in this profession right now too is it's not just us. I mean, Seattle Police Department is short 500 officers. Well, there's not 500 new candidates showing up for these jobs. So we're all fighting over the same 4 or 5 really highly qualified applicants, and we're lucky in that we can hire really quickly because we don't have the bureaucracy of some of those big agencies, but we are fighting over a pool of resources that is not equal to the number of jobs needed in the region.
And the last question, obviously you showed us what we had to cut, and I know we had a levy. The levy was designed to get us close to what the state average was. It also included the other things that come with it, with court costs, crime analytics, vehicles, and so forth. And I don't know if this is Jeff or city manager or Tim or you, are we still looking at about $3.5 million a year to just get up to a state standard?
A Jeff question?
I think we haven't run that number in about a year, so I'd like to get a chance to do that. But I also think there's a larger discussion with the council about what level of policing the council wants us to be at. So we are definitely short-staffed severely, and we will be talking more about some ways we can chip away at that tonight.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilmember Harris?
Just anecdotally, Officer Seabury, is this like, you're in your 90th year now, right? Or is it just? No.
Yes, I am in my 90th year. I started when I was 2.
You know what I meant. You know, you've been here forever. I'm just like, that's a good thing.
I am not offended by that, so it's okay.
Yeah,
This
no.
is my
it's
30th year.
That's what I'm getting. It's just, because relevant to the animal control thing, we have people.
Well, this is going to be my last year also. February will be it.
Yes, she has submitted paperwork this time.
I did submit the paperwork. Yes, it is official.
No, I'm happy for you. I always think in terms of the continuity. That's what I think.
I love my city, and I have enjoyed all of my time here.
Okay, so here's the question. We're aside from this is for the chief. No, thank you. This is like
I'm still crying because of what she just said, but I'm working on it.
I'm going to cry later. No, but right now I just forget the money. I said, when you were in Burien, you do these stats things that are fabulous.
You have a question?
This is a question, Mayor. But they're always in terms of like crime stats. You made mention of a term, workload assessment. That is kind of what I would like to see, apart from the dollars. If there was a way to quantify how much time you're spending on calls, how, for lack of a better term, stress levels, are there standard terminologies for that as there are for NIBRs? And if there are, I would love to see them in this discussion.
There are. You're not going to like my answer, is that it costs money. That level of work, there's several companies that do workload analysis, and it is actually the best standard. The officers per 1,000 is a really cheap way to talk about staffing. The really rich way to talk about staffing is a workload analysis. What you're going to find as your workload analysis number is going to be a much larger number than what I presented you a moment ago. You're not going to like it because a workload analysis is going to say, What is the actual right number of officers to meet the community need? And we talk about, tonight, we talked a little bit about Redondo's expectations for how are we going to deal with Redondo during the summer. That is something that they will build into that calculation and say that's a community need. They'll look at your crime rate up on the highway. They'll look at some of our transit issues and how are we really having a rich partnership with Metro and Sound Transit. What does the train impact look like? And how do we make sure officers still have 50% of their time unaccounted for just to be available for serving their community? That's actually what a workload assessment looks like, and it will give you a really big number. I'm just being honest with you that in this state, we don't do a good job. Other states, our city manager came from Texas, they don't talk the per thousand number. They talk the workload assessment number because it is much more valuable. And if it's something the council wanted, it's certainly something that, as we talk about strategic planning, long planning, and some of these discussions, it's something that we should be investing in is actually a deep study of what is the community's expectation for policing, what does that actually cost, and that is a workload assessment.
Okay, just
so,
two
great
things.
point.
One, we're not capturing that, and two, I just opened a can of worms. Thank you so much.
You're speaking my language. I would love to do it. I know that that is a much bigger project than where we're at tonight. Yes, sir.
Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, just a couple of questions. Given you're showing the trends going down and we're way below state average, how do you connect those two, and is there an explanation that the community can understand? Because they may think we're doing okay with this level of policing. I'm not convinced we are, but.
Yeah, so policing is not the only thing that affects crime rates. And I will not be the guy who comes up here and takes full credit for decreasing rates, because on the other end, if they change next year, I'm not going to take the full blame for them. So I won't take it one way, not the other. There are a ton of factors. If you look at some of your biggest drivers of crime are things like poverty. They're things like housing instability. Lighthouse was here today talking about, all of the different impacts it takes to get somebody to that place of success. Those are all factors in crime rates as well. So as we talk about crime, we have a lot of things that have gone fairly well in the last couple of years. We had some things in 2020 with a pandemic that crime trends went all over the place, like business crime went through the roof, but residential crime went to zero because everybody was home all the time. So, I mean, there's so many different factors that impact crime. One of the things that is somewhat concerning to me is that we are seeing still things like we're celebrating the decrease in auto theft, which is very good and it's very noticeable in this state. We also need to recognize that we are lagging the national trend by an astronomical amount. We still have a ridiculous level, and you see that in things like your insurance rates, right? That it is very expensive insurance-wise to live in this state because our cars get stolen at a ridiculous rate. So there's still a lot of work to be done. And that work occurs in that unallocated time. So that's where that good work is going to occur. I will always give you 110% of however many cops you give me. That's just the reality. I will always prioritize and triage 911 calls, crimes against people, life safety. That's going to be we will always do that no matter what. The things that will fall off are those other things that people really want us doing, and that's where this discussion lives. So I can say, yeah, we actually had a great effect on this crime, but maybe we left a lot of really important community work down here undone.
And kind of just to follow up with that, geography, even within our little city, plays a role in all of this. Is there a way to, break down some of those numbers to the neighborhood or a particular part of our community? And a corollary to that is, of course, up on Pack Highway where we have the Sawtooth and with Kent. Is there any way to assess how often we're responding to crimes that are actually committed in Kent, but we're the closest department, and therefore we end up responding to that?
So those won't show on our NIBRS report, because on NIBRS report, as we do that rich data, the location of the crime becomes relevant. We also will generally hand those off. So sometimes we'll do a courtesy report, but we hand the investigation, the stat off to the organization or the location the crime occurred. Telephonic crimes have a little exception, but that's probably not where you're going anyway. Telephonic crimes can be reported in either end for NIBRS, either where they came from or where they were received. So yes, We can give more detailed stats. One of the things that is one of those 2025 budget discussions is a crime analyst is really the tool for that. I give very high-level stats. It takes a lot of staff time to really speak with stats, to really interpret what that means. That takes a lot of staff time. That's really where you typically have a data scientist or an analyst who says, okay, now like take this stat and use that to guide our response. Right now, that is largely done at my level. It's largely done. Chief Stat and is really good at it. But that typically is a specialized body of work. Yes, I can give some. I can also anecdotally say that if you are ever looking at crime anywhere, if you follow socioeconomics, crime rates and socioeconomics tend to overlap in a lot of ways for most violent crime. Things like domestic violence, not true. Things like DUI, not true. So there's definitely crimes in all of our communities, but you tend to see, like in our communities, look like auto thefts and stuff tend to be more pronounced in up nearer the highway areas of lower economics.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Oxier.
Yes, thank you, Chief, for the report. One thing, could we scroll back to the speed camera results panel?
Oh, sorry, I can't make nutting that way.
I don't have.
Not that I want to, Jeremy.
Right there.
Okay, okay. Am I correct that okay, we have an extremely high number for 2024, but that's a full year, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, I think they came online like midway through 23 is my understanding.
I'm sorry?
I think they came online partway through 23. Is that correct?
Correct. So my question is that the numbers then for both 2023 and 2025 are actually approximately 6 months, not full year?
2025, these numbers were pulled. I can't see it on there. I think they were pulled last week. Whenever I made this presentation, I think it was about a week ago.
Okay, so, but they are partial. We are showing, you know, reductions reduction in 2025, but it's not the full year, so we're not comparing apples and
I'm
oranges.
talking about, if you're looking at a trend line, those are not full year numbers for 2025. If you look at it and actually do it date to date, it's a substantial reduction.
Yeah, we can make a note on this that those are year-to-date or partial years so that you're not thinking, wow, 24 was a banner year and.
Right.
Yep, we can make that note.
Okay. And then the other thing is if we could move to the Redondo emphasis, summer 2025. There we go, okay. So now, I heard this, I thought the other night, what's the distinction between parking infractions and traffic citations? Do you count the speed camera citations where?
Those are tracked totally separate. This
Totally
is the
separate.
actual
So this is
officer
just-
work down there.
This is just the work down there, okay. Yeah, sorry, I misunderstood what was going on. And so then the warnings, how much of the warnings involve parking?
The answer is yes. Those are going to be self-initiated contacts that ended in a warning. So they could be a noise violation, they could be a ticket or a parking violation or a moving violation. All of those would end with a warning. So it's an officer contacting somebody about a violation of the law and that person receiving a warning instead of a action in the form of a ticket, arrest, citation, et cetera.
Okay. And then the other thing, I don't know if this is you or the city manager, the workload assessment, we're never quite sure, you know, exactly what the money can be used for the speed camera revenues. Can it be used for a workload assessment?
No, because right now, the speed camera funds can only be used for things that directly relate to traffic safety, pedestrian, safety, because it can't even be used, you know, for officer time, for traffic enforcement. It cannot be used for that. The workload assessment, I'm happy to give the council more information. Like the chief said, where I came from, that's what we did, as that was how we determined officers needed. It's a process to do it. The studies to do it usually are between like 25 and 40,000 to come in and look at it. It will absolutely give you a much higher number of officers needed than the ratio.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Jeremy, just checking in on you. Do you have a question? Councilmember Nutting, sorry. Okay. Any other questions? I have a few, or kind of a multifaceted question on the officer information slide, that I've heard the statistics so often about officers per thousand, and you did talk a little bit about that. What was the other phrase that you called it? Workload assessment. Regardless, every time I hear this, I think, man, we need to spend more money on officers. We need more officers. But every single mayor I talk to, every city in this county, in the state of Washington is the lowest percentage per, capita. How do I say this? If all police officers who live in the state of Washington are employed, but every single city is understaffed in officers, then it almost seems like there's nothing we can do except for message out into the cosmos and say, police officers, come to Washington. I mean, what are we not doing that all the other states are doing, and what is our city not doing that other cities are doing? I always listen to this and I say, okay, what can we do?
So that is a very complex question, but I think what I would say at a high level is, a neutral comment, just a comment. The state laws here are not typically appealing to law enforcement. Many of the state laws, if you were in law enforcement, you would say work against law enforcement. So that is very unappealing, and coming from a state, for the good and bad of it, that was the opposite. We frequently recruited officers from California, Oregon, and Washington, and did not do signing bonuses. They just wanted to go to states that had different climate. So I think that really is a challenge. But actually, I would say our department does an excellent job of recruiting officers. So I don't want the public to leave thinking our department is not a desirable place to work. Far from it. Our compensation is very on market for a city of our size. We have a good reputation as a place that has a very supportive community. That is a huge thing in our favor. What is challenging for us is we are a small department. So if you are beginning your 30-year law enforcement career, you probably don't want to be on patrol for 25 years. You want to go be a canine officer. You want to be in narcotics. You want to have these kind of specialties that we don't really offer officers due to our size. So that is a challenge for us, for sure. But yes, I would say the state of Washington is definitely not, I don't think people are flocking to this state to be in law enforcement here. But I do want to be clear that within this area and within King County, we are a desirable department, for sure, to work for.
So if we had in the budget 2 more available slots, we could,
We would fill them.
We would fill them. Like I talked to the city of Cantor City, when you just said how many hundreds, it's like, no, it almost seems like there are way more available slots for officers in this state and in this county than there are officers available.
So right now, there's not a name on my board that is vacant. So every single person, now some of them are in the academy. 3 of them start Wednesday on the 1st. But everybody has a name on my board. And my rule within the department for my staff is you have 90 days from the time we're aware of a vacancy until somebody has a job offer in their hand. So we have a constant list of people wanting to come to the city. We have a constant list of people in backgrounding so that when we get notified, hey, I'm retiring, within 90 days, we have a job offer out to somebody. And that's our goal, is to constantly maintain that 90-day window. One of the things that the city manager pointed out is that we have to look at what we are, and what we are is a department that can really build some young officers and build their careers, and just acknowledge that in some cases their next step will not be in our city, and that is something that we should absolutely take advantage of to get amazing young people and develop them and get 5, 6, 7, 10 years out of an amazing officer, knowing that they might go somewhere else for that next career step. So I'm acknowledging that sometimes you look at what you are and you don't try to change what you are, as opposed to really make sure that you do everything you can to build. And then as we talk about what's the right level of staffing in our city, some of those options might come closer to home, which gives us some opportunity as well to retain some of those officers.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. And just to be clear, you know, the whole, that work level assessment, actually, my mind was in a different direction. It's more in terms of, I don't want to call it morale, but basically the health and well-being of the officers, that their job satisfaction while they are here for whatever period is, you know, is top notch. I mean, that's my only concern with the you know, number per thousand, is essentially what is that doing to their performance and to their well-being, you know, so that they are most effective. Thank you. Yeah, whatever you could do to quantify that. I know that's really squishy, but just, yeah, anything that just describes the,
Thank you.
you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, he
You know, I
does.
just don't know how to quantify it in law enforcement. You know, if it were another corporate environment, I'd know exactly what to.
Burnout is real. I mean, I'll just,
Thank you.
burnout is real. That's real. In your police department, burnout is real.
Councilmember Nutting.
Thank you, Mayor. My only comment is, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my only comment is to coattail onto Chief Bo's comments are, yeah, we train them up. They go somewhere for 2 years and then they beg to come back to Des Moines. So that's what we do, and we've got a great team, and I appreciate everything you guys do.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right. That's good. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
All right,
much.
We have one super quick item, but on the consent agenda, please come on up, Tyler Beakley. There is the property acquisition for Wooten Park. We left it on consent, but real quickly, I've asked Tyler, our environmental engineering manager, to do a quick 2-sentence update, because this is great news. So, Tyler.
Yeah, just keep it brief. Tyler Beakley, Surface Water Environmental Engineering Manager. Down in Redondo, there's 16 acres of a private parcel that went up for sale. An exciting opportunity is we got 2 grants from King County to pursue acquiring this parcel under our surface water utility, totaling $425K. There is a 25% match that's coming from our surface water utility. And also to mention, the intent of this is to preserve forested canopy in our city. And it just so happens to be next to one of our parks. So exciting opportunities ahead.
Councilmember Oxiger.
Yes, and the number of acres?
16 acres.
16, thank you.
All right, thanks, Tyler. Tyler did a lot of work on that grant application, so kudos to him.
Just to clarify, so between the grants and then the value, everything, so we're paying about $58,000 for almost 16 acres.
Correct.
That's
Correct.
incredible. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. That's it. Thank you so much. So on to the consent agenda. Go ahead and if you could read the consent agenda for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 1, approval of vouchers. Item 2, approval of minutes. Item 3, comprehensive plan periodic update, second reading. Item 4, confirmation of city manager's reappointment of Lisa Leone to the municipal court judge position. Item 5, public works maintenance equipment purchase. And item 6, property acquisition, Wooten Park, open space. And that concludes the consent agenda. Mayor?
Thank you. Do I have a motion? Councilmember Nutting?
So moved. Consent calendar is read.
Second.
Second, Councilmember Mahoney. Is there an item that any council member wishes to pull? Okay, great. We have all in favor. Raise your right hand. Great, 7-0. Consent calendar passes. So next up, we have unfinished business, and the first item on this, the first discussion on under unfinished business, actually, I think there's only one item under unfinished business. Short-term rentals, and this is our second reading. The purpose of this item is for the council to consider an ordinance addressing short-term rentals. And Tara Vaughn is up to help us out with that information.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, council, mayor, deputy mayor. Since this is the second reading, I'm going to focus this presentation on just the amendments. Nothing else has changed with the draft ordinance. So Little bit of history. Draft Ordinance 25001, it only addresses short-term rentals, and it was presented for a first reading at the study session September 4th. At that time, the council did move to pass it to a second reading, but requested some amendments, mainly an increased radius for the notification letter, address somehow excessive calls for service, a provision giving the city access to mandatory noise monitoring system data, and changing the decibel level for noise monitoring systems to a value that is not calculated over the period of 24 hours. So, in accordance with those requests, we have amended the draft ordinance by extending the radius for the notification letter. It used to just be abutting properties and anybody directly across the street. We have extended that to 200 feet from the property line. We've also added a provision that letter has to be handed out annually. One of the council members brought up, what if somebody's new to the neighborhood and they missed the first round of letters going out? So that would address that. We've also added provisions to Section 13 that would allow the city to deny or revoke a short-term rental permit if there's been 3 or more calls for service within a 12-month period, or if the property owner fails to keep noise monitoring system data for at least 30 days, or fails to provide that after the city has requested it. Lastly, we have changed the decibel level for mandatory noise monitoring systems to just 80 decibels for longer than 30 seconds. That way it's not calculating over a period of 24 hours, which really would not be helpful. And this way, property owners can program their system with these specifications to be notified of continuing loud noises. And that is it.
Right, thank you. Any questions before the motion? Checking Jeremy out. All right, so go ahead. Do we have a motion? Deputy Mayor Steinmetz?
I move to incorporate the proposed amendments shown on draft ordinance 25-001 as submitted.
Second, Councilmember Grace Matsui. Discussion. Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. I have 2 amendments. I would like them to be considered separately. The first being section 1(7). I sent an email to the city manager. I believe the council has seen it, where it says for a period of fewer than 30 consecutive nights. I'd like to add before that for a period of 1 night and fewer than 30 nights. I did a little digging into this, and it just, a lodging use, unless there's really something specific, it doesn't seem to me like that makes it clear that it's for 1 full night, and that anything shorter than an overnight stay should be considered under a separate ordinance.
So did you deliver wording for him for that amendment?
It was
Or do you have?
It
was in the email.
He proposed it, and so if
It was in the
motion, we're happy to take it.
Okay, so if you could read it, Councilmember?
Sure. 7, short-term rental, this is in the definitions, means a lodging use, excluding hotels, motels, or bed and breakfasts in which a dwelling unit or portion thereof is offered or provided by a property owner to a guest for a fee for a period of 1 night, but not fewer than 30 consecutive nights. I just want to clarify that it's for one full day rather than like a by hour kind of a deal.
Get clarity from him. So, clarity question.
Yeah, clarity question, if it's not fewer than 30, then it would be anything over 30. Shouldn't be not more than 30.
No, I want to make sure, I want to ensure that the rental period is at least 1 day, 1 overnight.
I know, but I am talking about the other piece of what you're proposing. And I'm trying to just get clarity. Are you trying to say it's more than 30 nights?
Not at all.
Then
I'm just saying.
Then it shouldn't be more than 30 nights. I don't think
No,
the wording is proper.
Forgive me if I misspoke, but I said, all I added in was, I believe, like, of one night, of at least one night, but not fewer than, well, actually, that's what it says. I see where, okay, for a period of at least one night, but not more than 30 consecutive nights. I take your point. My apologies.
Okay. So,
I can read it again if you want.
I think you understand, I
clear.
think you understand the intent. I just want to make sure that it's the clarity that it's one night.
thank you. Do we have, so that was the motion? Do we have a second? I'll second, oh, you second
second.
it? Okay, Deputy Mayor Simon seconds it. Any discussion? Councilmember Grace Matsui.
I appreciate the desire to have some clarity, but it seems like an overnight is already defined as not being by the hour. And I'm not sure that I know of any of the major vacation or short-term rental sites that do per hour arrangements. And so for me, that doesn't really seem to be necessary because you can't go to Airbnb or VRBO or Booking.com and rent some room in someone's house for 2 hours for an overnight stay. And so it seems to me that we're excluding something that doesn't necessarily exist.
Okay.
Yeah. The staff feel like as written, the word lodging is clear, but if the council would like extra clarity, I mean, the additional language doesn't, there's no harm in it.
Okay, Councilmember Harris.
I would just say that, you know, it's wonderful if one is part of the Airbnb or Vrbo system, but, you know, many people will, I assume, a certain number of people will engage in short-term rentals outside that corporate kind of a deal, and it is my understanding that a certain number of people do go to hotels and pay an overnight rate, but only stay for a couple of hours. And I just think that should be something that we, you know, don't want to encourage. Thank you.
Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Right, so this doesn't apply to hotels, so what happens in hotels really doesn't make a difference in this. And people can also go to a short-term rental and only stay for 2 hours, and they can stay as long as they have a booking for. I'm just wondering if we're putting in more than needs to happen, since we have the definition of the dwelling unit, we have a definition of daytime versus overnight. Looking for some other ideas, or if anyone else has any other opinions on it.
Okay, so did you have a comment?
Yes.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, I do think it builds in a certain redundancy to this, but I also think it does provide some more clarity. And if the object is to make sure that it's an overnight rental, how long people stay there we will never control, but they're renting it overnight, or up to 30 days. And I think that I see the logic in this, and I'm okay with that.
Councilmember Harris, you've already had 2 times. I think we understand where you're coming from. Any other comments?
If I may,
So, Councilmember, point of order, sir. We each get 2 times at it. I will ask the council if they want you, but you can't respond to every single comment that comes forward from 7 people. That's not how it works. So you did make a good point, and you did respond. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask, does anybody else have any more comments on this? Okay. I'm going to allow you 1 clarity comment. Please be very brief.
Gosh, I'll try.
Thank you.
I think that basically, if you leave this loophole, you are saying to the provider, you are providing an opportunity to the provider that should not be there. And so I just think those 3 words, if they don't make much of a difference, then, you know, put them in there and just, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of the amendment, raise your right hand. Councilmember Oxier, Councilmember Harris, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, and myself, all opposed. Councilmember Grace Matsui, Councilmember Mahoney, and Councilmember Nutting, motion passes. Councilmember Nutting, motion passes. 4-2. Huh?
The amendment fails.
No, it passed. It was 4-3. We voted for Councilmember Harris's amendment.
Right, I voted for it, but
And
there were only 3 of us.
there were 4 of us, Councilmember Oxier, Councilmember Harris,
I'm
Deputy
sorry.
Mayor Steinmetz, and myself.
I misunderstood.
All right.
Okay.
Motion passes 4-3. The amendment stands. And any other amendments? We have, you have another amendment? Okay, Councilmember Harris.
I did say so, thank you. In section 6, I would like to add, there's a sentence that should say, this agreement shall be presented to guests as part of the contract and must be posted on site in an easily visible location within the main space. I would like to add the following 4 words, and available for public inspection. What I would like is that other than just people, every so often handing out flyers, if somebody hears, some commotion going on or what have you, they should be able to just knock on the door politely and the renter present them with a copy of this good neighbor agreement. That just seems common sense, that you are able to say, I am, what's going on here, and then the renter can say, well, I am part of a short-term rental agreement, and then you show them the good neighbor agreement. It's just like a passive form of the placard without having to advertise to the whole world that this is the purpose of what's going on.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay, fails for lack of a second. Thank you so much. Any other amendments offered? Okay, so it looks like any further discussion, we've got a motion on the table with an amendment approved, and discussion is over. If there's no further, you have another discussion?
No, I'm going to move.
We know we have to pass the motion. So all in favor of the first motion?
Discussion on the motion.
Okay, on the first motion.
Yes, I'd like to
Okay.
make a statement.
Councilmember Mahoney.
And it's because, Jim, thank you for coming and speaking publicly. And I've heard other people say as much that I've spoke to that have concerns about short-term rentals. I've also talked to people, one being Doreen Harper recently, who gave a great letter of who's a very good steward of her business, and it's very successfully run. But I've talked to ones that the neighbors around them that have endured disturbances at all hours of the night, and it's been problematic. The fact is, it's going to happen anyway. And what we do is offer you the best protection we can by supporting something like this that gives guidelines and gives us the capability to make enforcements. If we don't have something like this, then it's very difficult to enforce. Now, as a property owner and your neighbors and everybody else, it's the goodwill of each of those neighbors should one move to, say, Arizona and want to rent their house out. Well, it's in their best interest and your best interest that they be good stewards of their business. And I encourage you, if your neighbor decides to do so, then you might have that conversation with them. I think that's going to be important in this process. But to have nothing and ignore the problem will be a greater poor and a much more poor outcome than what this solution is. And you're one of the voices I've heard many of, and I just wanted to address your concerns. So with that, thank you. I'll be supporting this.
Thank you. Councilmember Harris.
This is an experiment, and at the first reading, we basically were hearing from mainly supporters of one particular use case. And I got a lot of letters, against this, and
Councilmember Harris, that was a different discussion. That was amenity rentals. This is a discussion about short-term rentals.
Forgive me, this is my time, please. And it is good that we heard follow-up from people with different points of view. This is an experiment, and it's something that, I didn't want to vote on something with, I appreciate the second reading because on anything, because you want to hear from both sides on everything. And I agree with Councilmember Mahoney in the sense that the overwhelming thing in the correspondence we got is that people tend to think of their experience as being universal. And some people absolutely love the concept and some people despise it. And it will be an interesting thing to see how we manage it. But be aware that just now that we've heard from such a wide variety of opinions, I'm about 100% sure that the city will be making sure that it is done responsibly. I'm pretty sure of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Nutting.
Thank you, Mayor. I think my proposal of a sign at the entrance of the driveway with an STR number that stated which was their license number and a phone number to call would have solved a lot of the challenges that have been brought up here. That was shot down by the majority of the council, and I absolutely think we're going to regret that. So as I will vote for this, I just think that we're making a huge mistake here, not implementing some sort of sign saying what the STR number is, short-term rental, STR, short-term rental number, which is their business license, and what phone number to call to contact the person that owns the property of the disturbances that are going to occur. So that's my only comments, Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, I mean, we first began discussing this my first year on the council back in 2022. And that's how long this whole concept has been worked back and forth. I've heard from many people on both sides, people that have short-term rentals now that are totally unregulated within this city, and some that are very responsible owners, some that are not. I've heard from people in the neighborhoods that are affected by those that are not responsible, and the city does not have an appropriate way to regulate and to try to bring, essentially make those short-term rentals a good neighbor. This allows us to do it. If we don't have some sort of regulatory scheme for short-term rentals, they will still exist. They won't go away. This is just a new thing that has come up, and we all know the names VBRO and Airbnb, and that tells you something that it has permeated the consciousness of not just our community, but of the country and the world as a whole, because we know what those are. They exist. If you don't regulate them, then they will exist unregulated. And this gives at least the city some recourse if things get out of control. And that's the reason we need to do, we need to pass this tonight. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? I feel I should make an obligatory comment because I was an Airbnb superhost, but nobody in my neighborhood knew that I was doing it, not because it's just, we never had any problems. And it has been said, Airbnb and VRBO, they are a little bit self-regulating. If you've got an investment and you want to preserve it and it's worth bringing you income, you need to take care of it well, and take care of your neighbors well. And I think disturbances, almost everything has already been said, but disturbances the police will be called for them should be called for them anyway. So honestly, I liked the way it was. I don't like too much over-regulation by government. I'm not a super big fan of that. I wasn't as big of a fan of this simply because I wanted people to be able to operate without having to be governed if they can do it well. It sounds like there were some people that weren't doing it well, and I think here again, as to my colleagues' comments, this helps people to be more responsible. So I will be supporting it. I think that is good for comments. Oh, so we are still on motion number 1, and we had our amendments to it. All in favor, raise your right hand. So looks like it's unanimous. Thank you so much, 7-0. Okay, now we move to motion number 2, and I'm going to pass that to the Deputy Mayor.
I move to approve the draft ordinance 25-001 as amended, regulating short-term rentals.
Do I have a second? I'll give that to, Councilmember Mahoney for the second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. It looks like 7-0 unanimous passage of that motion as well. All right. Next up, we have
Madam Mayor.
Pardon? Sure, if you'd like to take a 5-minute break, that's fine. All right, we'll take a 5-minute break. If we could regather. Council meeting is going to reconvene in about 15 seconds. Council meeting is now back in session. We are resuming to the new business segment of our agenda, and the first item is revenue enhancing options. The purpose of this item is to brief the council regarding revenue options for the city. Staff is seeking guidance as to which items are of greatest interest for further research, and the council has received a presentation for review that is not included in the packet. We received it via email, but we are going to be receiving this slide presentation, and so welcome. I'm turning this over to City Manager Catherine Caffrey and Finance Director Jeff Friend.
Thank you. And actually, the packet you all received is in the packet, so the public can see it.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was.
And then we also did a printout on the dais for each of you, since there's a lot of content. So everything we have is available to the public as well.
Oh, thank you. Sorry about that.
But I met with all of you about it, so you probably felt like you knew the item well. So this is really, I'd say, part two to what was a major item on the agenda at the September 11th meeting when we went through the long-range fiscal forecast. This is really going to be just kind of talking about exactly what it sounds like. Some options for how we can generate revenue, which is an important part of fiscal sustainability. What we are looking for tonight, as the mayor just said, is we are looking for a decision on the public safety sales tax, because that is time sensitive. And then there's a whole list of a menu of options, and we're looking for what are you interested in pursuing or not. There's another one that is somewhat time sensitive that we'll highlight when we hit it. Much of this you all are very familiar with, so I'm not going to go through all of this. But as you know, the city, continues to face a structural imbalance, meaning that our revenues do not keep pace with our expenses due to inflation and some limitations on tax revenue that we can collect. You all very well remember the challenging budget situation you all went through in 25 and 26, and you made a series of difficult decisions. We've talked about some of them tonight. Chief Bowe went through them regarding animal control and police positions. We did look at ways to create new revenue as part of the 25-26 budget. And so sort of as soon as that budget was passed, I think everybody knew that we were not done talking about the city's finances. This has been an ongoing effort. So at the last meeting, you all were presented the general fund fiscal forecast, which did sort of show the city's long-term trajectory. We'll hit the highlights on that tonight just to refresh everybody's memory. I think whenever you're talking about revenue, it's important to realize that for city staff, we recognize that's only one part of the overall situation. We've spent quite a bit of effort managing costs, and so I want to just highlight those so that the public knows that that's, of course, a really central part of what we focus on. We don't just immediately go to revenue. So we've had many lengthy conversations over the last months about cost containment. We have looked at efficiency improvements, whether that's taking services in-house or discontinuing services. And then we're also working on capital and asset maintenance scheduling. What I mean by that is really getting clear on our capital infrastructure and what its maintenance schedule is, so we're preventing bigger problems later by making sure we're staying on top of those things. So that's an important way we can manage costs. But it's also important that we look at exploring new revenue, so that we can really continue to provide the services our residents are looking for. You all saw this presentation on the 11th. This was the general fund forecast going out to 2031, and I think the thing that we heard that night that I think was not surprising but still difficult to hear is that without actions to reduce expenses dramatically or increase revenue, the city's general fund will have a negative fund balance by 2030. And so it's important that we continue our cost containment efforts, but it's also really important we talk about revenue. So I got a great question from one of you about as we're talking about these revenue options, what is the target number? And that's a great question. So we went back to FCS and had them run a chart saying, if we wanted to maintain existing services, so this is really no enhancements to speak of, and maintain the city's required 16.67% fund balance reserve, we would need to generate between 1.8 and 2.2 million in recurring annual revenue through 2028. You'll see after 2028 it starts going up. That is partially due to inflation and compounding. But I think the takeaway is we need to be getting another 2 million a year in recurring and stable revenue to simply maintain where we're at. I think whenever you're talking about the city's long-term fiscal sustainability, there's both short-term things we can do and then there's long-term. Right now, we are talking about some stopgaps, right? So we're talking about what are some immediate things we can implement to help generate revenue and provide stability. In the near term, we will continue talking about what are other tools we can have to grow revenue, but really that long-term strategy, which I think we have heard references to and I fully anticipate will come up in the strategic plan, which is talking about economic development, looking at what our land uses are and are they setting us up for long-term fiscal health. Those are the long game. Those take years, if not decades in some cases, to really yield the results. So we can't simply say, well, we're going to do it then. It really is important that we do this mixture of short-term and long-term solutions. So please know I recognize that we can't just come to the council every year and say we need to find another tool for revenue. We also have to be working on these long-term solutions, which I think the council's kicking off with the strategic plan. But that in the interim, we do need to do some, or we would ask the council to consider some measures now. I also think anytime you're talking about revenue, let's talk about the obvious, right? So we are talking about dollars that will come to us from our residents and businesses. And it is not lost on me that this is a time where many of our residents and many businesses are facing their own financial uncertainty of what their future looks like. And it is very hard to then turn around and say, but we need more from you. That being said, in order for us to provide simply core services, we do need to generate additional revenue, or there will be, I think, even harder discussions about very significant cuts that will need to be made. So I think the best thing we can do is have very open and transparent conversations about this, and be very upfront about the challenges we're facing and what we're trying to do to address them. So you all were provided a packet a couple weeks ahead of time, but then it is also in the packet that's publicly available, looking at various options, which Jeff will go through in a minute. But I want to hit on a couple things. So first, we are focusing on the general fund. There are a few items in there that affect other funds or, really are freeing up dollars that can be used by the general fund. The reason why we're focusing there is that the general fund is the area of our finances that feels the most pressure right now. It is also the one that is responsible for day-to-day services like police, like parks. Those are things that really the community relies upon. It's also the fund that faces the strongest difficulty in growing, mostly due to the tax cap in Washington State at 1%, which is really makes every year kind of you're playing catch up because simply inflation is higher than that 1%. We also focused on revenue options that are currently available under state law. So we are not bringing you anything that would require additional legislation to enact. These are things that are currently available to you. When we put these together, we used a consistent set of criteria so that you could try to do really an apples to apples comparison on them wherever possible. And then again, I really want to emphasize that this is a technical resource document. It is not intended to be, here are 10 things we think you need to do immediately. It's really meant as, here is all the ideas we came up with, and we're looking for feedback on which ones you're most interested in pursuing and which ones you don't want to pursue. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeff, who's going to go through the options, and then at the end, we'll sort of start getting some feedback and decisions.
Good evening. I am presenting your menu for tonight. The first section that we have is the options in progress. These are options that we are already working on. Get to the slide, which is about 7 items. We can go through them briefly. Restricted funds analysis, that's simply going through some of the special revenue funds, ensuring that we're funding projects or aiming restricted funds at their proper uses in the right priorities. So we're not leaving, say, some unrestricted money in a project when we should be using some restricted funds that are designated for that purpose. So just make sure we're optimizing the strategy of the funds that we have. Square footage warehouse tax audit, we do have an update on this. This was part of the second quarter report a couple weeks ago, where we were not collecting as much as we had anticipated. Since then, we have had a little internal task force meet. We've reviewed the number of businesses that we expect payments from. As it was mentioned in that discussion, it is not a long list of businesses, and we've started to see progress already. So we're not going to be hiring a company at this point to help us with that, because it looks like we can handle that ourselves. Telecommunications lease audit. The city owns property where there are poles and telecommunications equipment. The city has leases with the telecommunications companies, so those would be audited to see if there's some revenue that can be gained there. Cost recovery of credit card fees. We want to ensure that the city's not eating the 3% on each credit card transaction that the city has, and is passing it along to the customer. Use of opioid settlement funds. The city has about $260,000 of settlement funds. Should be receiving about $680 over 15 years. We have not spent any of that, so we're looking at the best uses of those funds that are limited to addressing the results of the opioid epidemic. Implementation of marina rate increases. There are marina increases being implemented next year. 15% for normal docks and 30% for the new slips. And then the last is lease of Stephen J. Underwood Park, which is pending council vote. There was a presentation by Perfect Game about leasing ballparks at Stephen J. Underwood that was at the last meeting, and that one is pending council action. The next section is council consideration, public safety sales tax. So this is one item where we are looking for a direction from council tonight. The packet does include a motion related to this item. So what is it? So the state legislature passed a new, well, they didn't pass a tax, but they passed legislation that enables cities and counties to collect an additional sales tax that would be targeted for public safety purposes. So all of our neighboring cities are looking into this. It's a new 0.1% sales and use tax authorized under the state law. It can be used for broadly defined criminal justice purposes. So it can be used to pay for a police officer. It can also be used for animal control. And the effect would be that it would increase Des Moines sales tax from 10.2% to 10.3%. Revenue potential, that change could bring in about $450,000 annually to the city, which would be restricted for public safety uses. So of course, you know, the state won't make it simple. There's implementation issues that go along with this. Administrative requirements regarding training, data recording, et cetera, are cumbersome, but the police department is prepared to adopt these. And adopting these requirements also open the city up to grant opportunities for seed money for new officers that is not available without this. So essentially, there are grant opportunities, but it's only for cities that have adopted the sales tax. So if you don't adopt the sales tax, no grant money is available for you. And the implementation timeline. So if the city wanted to implement beginning in January 1st of next year, the ordinance must be enacted by October 18th. If the council prefers April 1st of 2026, the ordinance would need to be enacted by January 6th of next year. So impact for a regular person, if they were buying a $100 pair of shoes, currently the tax rate would be 10.2%, which would result in $10.20 in tax. The total cost of the shoes would be $110.20. Same pair of shoes with that tax increase, the tax would be $10.30, which would be a 10-cent increase on the total cost of the shoes that we're selling for $100.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Jeff, but I want to just mention this real quick before we leave this topic. Jeff mentioned a few slides ago what possible uses could be. We put in your packet what staff's recommendation would be for how we would directly use these funds, but I realized we did not put it in the slide, so I want to mention it. If the council approved this, we would recommend an additional FTE for the police department. We would recommend animal control funding, and we would recommend some additional funds set aside for the legislative requirements regarding public defender costs that we are absorbing. And finally, we would look to see if we could absorb the co-responder position as part of the general fund after that grant expires. So I want to be clear on like very directly what we would use those funds for and how they would impact the community. Sorry, Jeff, keep going.
Okay. The next options are options where we're just looking for council input, the menu items you care for and like, and the ones that you don't. First one is open spaces transferred to surface water management utility. What is it? So this concept would be that there are city-owned property that's not developed that could go under the ownership of the surface water management utility, and that would allow for regular maintenance of critical habitat and open space. The utility has more, well, they have more money than the general fund does, but they have more resources and able to provide that maintenance. The impact is savings for the general fund, which is currently paying those costs, and increased capacity for existing maintenance staff. This concept was introduced at a recent committee of the whole, and the estimated savings to the general fund would be about $100,000 a year. Second item is the water sewer utility tax increase. So what is it? It would be amending or renegotiating expiring water sewer franchise agreements to increase the current franchise payment rate of 6% or to impose a utility tax higher than 6%. The impact, the utility is responsible for paying the tax or a franchise payment. This is generally passed along to the user. And it also impacts 3 utilities of the 5 in Des Moines, which would be Midway Sewer, Southwest Suburban, and Highline Water District. Revenue potential really depends on what rate council would prefer if they were to open negotiations on the 3 agreements. The range could be $0 or up to $900,000. Each percentage increase is $150,000. So the $900,000 would be if it went from 6% to 12%. We want to show the peer usage, what our neighboring water rates and sewer rates were in the area. Des Moines, you can see we're at the bottom there at the 6% water rate, 6% sewer rate. Normandy Park is a little bit higher at 8%. Yakima is way up there, and Kent is at 13% and 9.5%. So we do appear to be at the lower spectrum of water and sewer rates. So how would this happen? So this is the important part of this, is that really I believe the request is to open, or the idea is to open those agreements to renegotiation. So 3 of the city's 5 water sewer franchise agreements potentially terminate in June of 2026. So if the city provides 6 months notice, so if we notice it 6 months in advance of that time, they can be reopened and renegotiated. That's what makes it a time-sensitive decision. If the city does not notice the 3 utilities, then that locks everything in for 5 more years at the current rates and agreements. So what would that do? If the city provides notice of intent not to renew existing franchise, the city can renegotiate with the 3 utilities. Existing franchises are almost 10 years old, and modernization of agreements would be beneficial to all parties. And that's one of the issues also is these agreements aren't just about the rates. There's also other issues like negotiation procedures, sharing costs in construction projects. So if they were to be reopened, then those items could also be negotiated. And to address equity concerns, the city could also include incentives for utilities to provide enhanced low-income senior discounts. Franchise payment versus utility tax. So this is discussion about is it a tax or a fee. So these franchise payments are in lieu of a tax. So in the past, it was unknown if the city could levy a tax, a utility tax, on another governmental entity. Since that time, the state has said, yes, you can. So these franchise agreements, these are franchise payments that are taking the place of a tax. They're not a franchise fee that's in exchange for a service. So the city can negotiate an increase in the franchise payment, or the city can remove the franchise payment language from the agreements and instead oppose a utility tax. And an example utility bill. So this is actually a data from a actual bill from a coworker who lives in Des Moines, who shall remain nameless. The period that the water bill is for is from July 7th through September 8th. So their base rate, they paid $34.64. Their consumption was $93.20. And then the next line on the bill, this is a Highline Water District bill. The franchise shows up as $7.65, and the total bill was about $135. So that's at our current 6%. If we were to just raise it 4%, which is just a moderate number I just chose, that $7.65 would go up to $12.78. So the difference would be a $5.13 increase to the bill for that 2-month period. Okay, 24-hour traffic safety cameras in school zones. What is it? So essentially, school zone cameras operate during certain hours in relation to the school day. According to state law, the city can utilize those cameras outside of those hours to detect regular speeding infractions. The impact is better drivers and safer roads. And the revenue potential, a study was done in May of 2025. Woodmont Elementary camera projected to initially generate over $500,000 per month of restricted revenue. So 2 things to note there. 1, revenue from these cameras are restricted to traffic safety purposes. But then a note about these monthly projections. So $500,000 per month. The study assumes, or when they do the study, there's no signs or cameras that are up on the road and say, look at the traffic and say, okay, that's $500,000. But Vera, the company that does the study and the cameras, assumes that, well, once the signs are up, the warning signs, once the cameras are up, we would probably get about 5% of that 500,000. So that says 500,000 per month. Annually at 5%, it would be about 300,000 per year. And with all traffic safety cameras, because they are encouraging good behavior, the revenue reduces over time. So the next one is additional traffic safety cameras. What is it? An installation of an additional 3 traffic camera locations. And so that would be 6 cameras because you'd have 1 pointing each way. That's the max allowable by law. It's the same impact, better drivers and safer roads. This speed study identified locations where the city could generate about $2 million per month, and about 5% of that would be about $1.2 million a year of restricted revenue, and that revenue would be restricted to traffic safety. And of course, it reduces overtime as well. Increase in car tab fees. The city currently collects $40 per vehicle registration. The city has the authority to raise that to $50 per vehicle registration. Impact, it increases the annual vehicle registration fees for all motor vehicle owners in the city of Des Moines. Annual increase would be $250,000, and those funds are restricted for traffic infrastructure projects or expenditures. Next is the in-house production of the City Currents, producing the quarterly City Currents newsletter internally instead of outsourcing it. The impact would be less advertising opportunities for local businesses. If it was produced in-house, the page count would be reduced by 20 pages from 32 to 12, and it would remain quarterly and glossy. Because Catherine was wanting me to say glossy for some reason. Savings potential saves the general fund about $40,000 to $45,000 per year. Impact fee analysis. What is it? An impact fee is a one-time charge that the city collects from developers or builders who construct new homes, apartments, or commercial buildings. The idea behind it is that impact fees help growth pay for itself. Review is also, review existing impact charges, so that's what we'd be doing, and consider increases or additional impact fee options. So essentially, the city collects a traffic impact fee. We are going to review it. If the council is interested, there can also be an impact fee for parks, rec, and open space. So basically, when a developer, they build a new building, build new houses, that there are costs to the city associated with that that relate to traffic, relate to parks usage, et cetera. And so that's what the fee is based on. That's why growth would pay for itself. So the impact would be to increase the cost of development, and the fee is based on a project-specific impact to infrastructure, which is a nice way to say it's a very complicated formula. So our revenue potential is unknown at this point. But we're really just gauging the interest on, if there's interest in a new impact fee for parks, rec, and open space. Okay, implement city-wide tax on city-paid parking. Pretty straightforward, but what is it? A city-wide parking tax for parking at city-owned lots and private paid lots like hotels. Impact would be higher parking rates at the Marina and Redondo parking lots and users of private parking lots. Revenue potential, 10% parking tax would create about $50,000 in revenue. So for example, 6 hours of marina parking currently costs $10. With a 10% parking tax, it would cost $11 for the same 6 hours of parking at the marina. The difference would be $1 for each 6-hour parking transaction. And lastly, a utility tax increase or surface water management. So what is it? Is increased tax imposed on the surface water utility. So the city, actually, we do tax the, collect taxes on the surface water management fund. The current tax rate is 13%. For each 1% increase, would be about $50,000 for the general fund. An increase would raise the cost of surface water management for all property owners who pay surface water management fees. And that concludes the menu. Yes.
A reminder on our goal, and then the next slide, Jeff, they have the menu.
Okay, before we begin, you mentioned depending on how the conversation goes on, bullet number 1, you said there was a motion somewhere.
Right here.
Oh, there it is, okay. So, on the next agenda, okay. Great. So, for the record, Councilmember Nutting has left the meeting. So, then in organizing the conversation, I just want to summarize, we don't want to assign hours of work to staff for the sake of curiosity. So the goal here, there needs to be a genuine interest for the sake of substantiating a vote in the future. We've received these briefings in a few different forms. The goal tonight is to see if we can, maybe we can't, but see if we can reduce this list in order to focus on priorities. So what we're going to do is take each bullet in order up there and survey the council. Do you want to forward the item with more research and or questions, or no? If you do forward it, yeah, so if we do decide to forward it, then we'll be asking if you have any questions that you want answered before it appears on a future agenda. So, yes, Councilmember Harris.
Just as a point of order, could we not have just?
State your point, please. What's your point?
My point is that we should have.
No, state your point of order. You said point of order. What point?
Yes, there should be a question period before going down. This was supposed to be an idea.
You keep your questions according, okay.
I think there should be a period of questions before going down and even.
Okay, so you think that that's how it should be. That's not a point of order. So what I'm saying, well, we've got rules, council. This is not a study. Council member, now I am going to state a point of order. Don't interrupt. And when you call point of order, you need to state the point. We have rules of procedure. You need to refer to the particular rule if you're going to point it. You cannot use point of order simply to interrupt the presiding officer. Now, there are 9 bullets there. If you have questions, put your questions in the category of one of those bullets as we approach them bullet by bullet. Okay, thank you. Now, we're going to begin with the public safety sales tax. That's the first bullet. We received a briefing on that. Do you have questions on the public safety sales tax? Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
You mentioned that the legislature had defined the category of public safety. Can we restrict that definition at all?
Chief, the chief might have the answer.
Yes, I mean, if you wanted to create a fund and restrict the revenue, then yes, you can do that, just like we do with other revenues.
And would it be possible to adopt the definition of public safety that we use for Proposition 1?
You could adopt whatever definition you wanted as long as it was in alignment with the state requirements, restrictions.
Thank you.
Okay. So are you asking then to put that as a consideration if this moves forward?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Councilmember Harris.
Jeff, you put in there something about a grant requirement and administrative burden, and I was hoping you could expand on that because my understanding is that if we approve this as a tax, isn't that it's just a tax going forward, or are there ongoing reporting requirements in order to keep this in force?
Chief Bo's right there.
Yeah.
Why are we smiling?
So the answer is yes. So over the last 10 years, the state legislatures had a whole bunch of things that they want law enforcement to report out on and change and train on, and this bill became the vehicle to implement all of those things, including the ability to modify and change it with 30 days written notice. So if they want me to do, part of this is allowing the state to be able to dictate if they want me to do some additional training. They add that, they give me 30 days notice, and I'm required to comply. There also is a large lift on, we have to standardize all of our use of force reporting, and we have to standardize all of our reporting of general crime data in the city for a large-scale WSU study. We'll be the first state in the nation that does a really in-depth statewide analysis of use of force, but police agencies have to do that. Requires I have a whole new software platform and do a lot of leg lifting to get to that. So there's a lot of administrative part. There also is a finance piece, and that finance will have to report out annually on every dollar spent and that it's used in conjunction. The second piece you asked is the grant. The grant is separate but equal. You can't go for the grant for seating new officers unless you implement this. So if you don't do the sales tax, you're also saying we're not going to go for the seating grants, and that's $125,000 per officer per year for a 3-year cycle.
Okay,
So
wait, I forgot my migraine pills. So basically, when this comes before the council, can you provide sort of like a number of hours, or basically just, you know, how much effort is going to be required for preparing all of that junk from time to time?
So I already have a letter ready to send on Monday if you guys move forward. So I already did most of this. Some of it is things that haven't yet been done. So like there's a mandatory LESCA training, Law Enforcement Safety Community Act training, that we know is coming. They have not yet built it. So I know that there's going to be another 16 hours of training between now and the end of the year. It's going to be mandated for all your officers. It hasn't been built yet. So there's more. So the answer is yes, I can tell you what. I already have the letter ready to go that hopefully will get us to, yes, we can say we're in good faith moving forward. And there's a lot of things more yet to come that haven't yet been defined by the state and the legislature, and will continue. This will be the vehicle to continue that discussion.
That being said, Chief Bo, I believe, based on the information we have about the requirements, we felt like the work was worth it for the revenue and the ability to get new officers into the department.
So I would like to recognize the time and know that we've got several bullets to cover here. I don't want to go till 10 if we can. So considering that any one of these we're not making a decision tonight, we're just deciding what we want to get more information on. So if you would like more information on the public safety sales tax, what would that be? Well, I guess I would say, is there anybody that does not want to forward this item? Okay, so everybody wants to forward this item. So instead of asking about it, if you could make recommendations to the staff on what you would like to know when it comes back, and then we'll address the motion. Okay, anybody have anything they specifically would like to see when this comes back on the agenda? Okay, I'll take a motion. Right, other than it was already said, I'll take a motion. By Councilmember Mahoney for the motion.
I move to direct staff to place the public safety sales tax on the next agenda for council consideration.
The second, Councilmember, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, any discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous, 6-0. Great, so we'll go to the second bullet. Open spaces transfer to swim utility. The idea here is, do you want to see this on another agenda? And we only need 3 head nods to put something on an agenda. So if you want to see this, do I have 3 head nods? Okay, we have 3 head nods. If you want to see it on the next agenda, what would you like staff to add as information on this item?
Sure.
Raise your hand, please, and I can call on you. Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, this should require a significant change to the SWIM Enterprise Fund accounting. I favor this broadly, but this should be accounted for. This is a big change, and the SWIM Fund, by expanding its purposes, it should have really a lot better financial reporting. Not better, but yeah.
We are currently evaluating what the cost is. So yes, you're right. Doing this will absolutely have a cost to the utility, which would be a rate increase. We are doing that analysis now, and we would bring that back.
And if there's a transfer, just foreshadowing into the general fund type stuff, that's giving me shivers. So just there will need to be clarity in terms of that.
That is not part of the plan at all.
Okay.
Councilmember Oxiger.
Yes, what would be helpful is to understand that in transferring this property over to SWIM, what restriction that puts us on it for future use.
Okay. Any other requests when this comes back? All right. Number 3, water sewer utility tax increase. Are there 3 people that would like to see this on a future agenda? I need head nod. I would like, so I've got 3 head nods. So what would you like to see, anything additional you would like to see when this comes back? Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, I would like to see at least 2, if not 3 different scenarios on the amount of the increase and how that would affect the example of the water utility bill that we saw, and to what exactly are the proposals for exemptions for seniors, low income, et cetera. So flesh those out more.
Okay, then Councilmember, I'll go down the line like this. Councilmember Mahoney.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing. I think I was more looking for a table for those franchises that would be eligible. Kind of that, along with, we talked about opening up for the other components of the franchise agreements, what that might mean as well.
Okay, Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Well, I think it's great to look at the residential customers. This will also come at a great cost to our commercial owners, business owners as well, who may have a much higher monthly usage than some residential properties. And so I would be concerned about the impact and would like to see a little bit more about how much this would cost to small businesses. And I would also recognize that you can incentivize perhaps a utility to provide a low-income or senior housing rate, but that doesn't mean that they have to do it or can offer it. Thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. I believe that some cities offer their own utility discount service. I would like some vague idea of how much administrative burden that is for the city to set up that kind of a program, independent of, her point is well taken. You can't make them, but, you know, I don't know how much that would be for you guys. So, thank you.
Okay.
The city attorney has something to clarify on that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so if we were to do this, if we were to, and it is time sensitive, as Jeff mentioned, we would need to provide notice to the 3 utilities probably before December. And then at that point, what I would request is we do something similar to what we did when we originally negotiated these agreements, which is either to have an ad hoc franchise committee or have assigned members of the council to participate in the negotiation process. And that would include myself, it would include the city manager, and it would be a consistent check-in with either the committee or the council as a whole, because there are a lot of issues involved in a franchise document. So it wouldn't be something where staff would just go negotiate and come back. It would really be something collaborative with the staff, the council, and then the districts with their general managers, probably some members of the commission, and of course their counsel or their attorney. So that's kind of how the process would play out if we were to notify them that we wanted to renegotiate. And if we don't, then our next chance to do that is 2031.
So, really quick, so would you be asking for the decision of how that ad hoc committee would be compiled when this came back on the next agenda?
No, I
Okay.
think we just need to know, do we notify them that we're going to renegotiate the agreements? And then that allows us time to set up the process. And even if we don't have agreements renegotiated by the time they expire, we could just go to a month-to-month while we work on those. So the key deadline is the notification period. Otherwise, we're locked in for 5 years.
Understood.
And then those will remain in place as is.
Councilmember Harris.
Is it easy just to determine the number of residents that are part of each SPD? And a bonus question would be what number of residents are, I believe there are different rates depending on like your property size and so on. If there's, I'm just trying to figure out what number of people are affected by each agreement is what I'm trying to
We
get
can
at.
absolutely find out how many people are in each district. Their bills are usage-based, so I think it'd be hard to classify, but we could also look at the businesses in each of the districts, get your data on just who's in each of them.
Okay. Any other information you would like on that when it comes back? All right, we'll go to 24-hour traffic safety cameras in school zones. Are there 3 people that would like that? 1, 2, 3. Okay, which information would you like to have added when it comes back? Councilmember Mahoney?
So I know we have a real example on the 24th. I know that obviously this last year with, or last couple of years with construction, but I would love to see what that revenue was, or like more the, not so much the revenue as the count and how that decreased. I think that gives us a real life example of what we might see as far as estimating revenue.
The current camera that we're contemplating is on 16th outside Woodmont.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know, but the 24th has a camera, or did.
Oh, it does?
It has a school camera.
It's not a school camera.
It is.
Okay.
And that's the one I'm referring to, is that gives us, I think, what I'll call more realistic data to what the count was, what the drop-off was, the signage, the whole process. We already have that in-house. So I think it might be beneficial to determining maybe a truer diminishing revenue stream.
Any other questions you'd like added to that? Councilmember Oxker.
Well, the other major school zone in this is Des Moines Elementary. Are we anticipating adding that camera to adding a camera there to the mix?
That hasn't been proposed. We haven't studied that location yet.
I think what we can do is there has been a full study done with engineering and like the traffic folks that look at this. And so what we should do is bring back a full presentation to you with the results, the locations, and that's what I think would be helpful.
Yes. That was going to be my question. Locate what are possible locations. Thank you. You done with the question? Are you done with the recommendation? Anything else, Councilmember? Okay, great. Deputy Mayor.
Is there any way we could talk to Highline about putting a school in Redondo?
Okay. Good. We're good with this one? All right, the next bullet, additional traffic safety cameras in other locations. Are there 3 head nods on that one? Definite, looks like quite a few head nods. So anything additional that you would like to hear on that? Councilmember Harris, then Councilmember Mahoney.
No, I don't have a question.
Okay, Councilmember Mahoney.
I just wanted to see more detail on the proposed locations is all.
Ditto. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, and I think it would be, when we're considering this, very useful to just be reinformed of the restricted use. Thank you.
Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Yes, I would love to know what kind of analysis or evidence will be used in the placement of those cameras, methodology. Thank you.
And just as part of, there's new state law requirements for placing new locations, and those require a lot of analysis, and the council actually has to approve that analysis. So we're working on that now, but now that we have the green light to go forward, we'll continue that. And then before those would be, before we're authorized to start construction, we would have to come to the council and present all that information.
All right, anything else on that? Next up, in-house production of city currents. Oh, where did it go?
It's not on that list.
It's not on there.
I apologize, Jeff left that
There
off.
it is, 24-hour, there we go.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Car test.
Okay, someone who did the slides left it off. I don't know who.
Good
I did
job,
not mean to
Matt,
blame
I'm
Jeff.
looking at the screen.
Sorry, I did not mean to blame Jeff. because I did this slide.
I might have some intuition on how the discussion's going to go.
I think you did. I apologize. I don't know whose fault it was. It's not
So-
Jeff's. I think it was me.
Is anybody in favor of adding and increasing car tab fees? I'm going to do a raise of hands. Raise your hands. 1, 2. Okay, so there's only 2 of you. So if we don't have 3. Well, okay, I'll allow questions because it might affect whether it goes forward or not. So, question.
Can it be legally renamed? I swear, I get a question all the time. People scoff because they think TBD is not.
To be determined.
And they do not understand the purpose. But all of this stuff up here is highly constrained, but when you explain to them that it's about roads, their attitude flips. And so I'm just suggesting that that the public actually is in favor of good roads.
Okay, so, you have
It's not sold properly. No, that's a real question.
it is a question he's asking, so go ahead.
It's a state program, so we cannot change the state laws. I mean, we could market it a different way, but the definitions are in statutes.
You can't change the line on the seriously?
We don't do the billing.
Yeah, okay. So that was the question. So it looks like we only had 2 hands for moving it forward, though. So I'll look at hand raised again. Oh, yeah, another question? Okay, go ahead.
So one is, obviously, the additional $10 would be restricted to the same use as it is. And my other question is probably for somebody in Public Works, this has been a means to effectively get things done and get roads paved, and the expenses are going up, is that correct? Okay. So to not entertain it as an option might be a mistake, from your professional opinion.
Putting some on that.
That's a yes.
Okay. Any other questions? If you would like to see this move forward to a future agenda item, raise your hand. There are 3 of them. So, do you feel like you have enough information there to move it forward? Anybody else want anything else on this? All right. Good, car tab fees. Next up, in-house city currents. Okay, looks like 1, 2, 3, looks like everybody. Okay, anything that you would like to see presented with that item as it comes to us? Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
What's the expected staff time, and where would that staff time come from? And can we just give her the cape with the big red S on it? Oh, okay,
Okay.
Okay, good. Next up, oh, excuse me, thank you.
And an indication, or not an indication, but are there any other possible partnerships?
We could look at that and come back.
Okay. All right. Impact fees. Impact fees. Do I have 3 people that would like to, okay, looks like across the line. What would you like to see in that information when it comes back? Councilmember Grace Matsui, then Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, and then Councilmember.
Well, it sounds like impact fees are used in a lot of different ways around the state, and I'm particularly interested on things like that would not hit as much on the residential or commercial development, but there are ones that are centered around new schools or new public spaces. And so I'm, again, not wanting to see if it could be a deterrent to development, but if there are ways, other types of fees that could be used, would love to focus on those, or a menu like Jeff suggested. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, I'd like to know if the impact fees could be negotiable based upon, for example, a developer including a park in their development as opposed to paying the impact fee.
Councilmember Harris.
To your mind, is this like an FCS kind of a task? Or I'm just, because I've seen them do analogous things in a couple other cities, and I just think it would be valuable not to scare people in terms of charging things, but just getting us some, live data on how much this stuff really does cost us.
Yes, they would do this research. Additionally, I'm talking to them about doing a list of benchmark cities so that when we talk about these things, we can really talk about cities that are similar to us. That would be part of that as well.
Sweet, thank you.
We had park fees for development in the past, and we no longer have that.
We have park and lieu fees, so
Yeah.
if you don't build
It's not an
public
impact fee?
spaces, then you would pay that.
So this is different from that.
This would be in addition to that, yes.
So you have a park and lieu fee, so if you do a short plat or if you do a development, you have a park and lieu fee.
If you
Unless
need-
you don't, unless you put, you could put a park in your development and then you wouldn't have to pay that. But then this would be a park fee in addition, so just build a bigger park or something.
Well, this is a fee that is supposed to represent the impact to the service you're looking at. So like the transportation one looks at what is the impact of this development on the road around it. So this is separate from what Deputy Mayor Steinmetz was saying, 'cause Tim's correct, we have that now, but it's really, if you're gonna build this, massive development, and there's gonna be 2,000 people there, what is their impact on our park system? And how do they pay in to sort of help offset that impact? But we can look at alternatives besides just payment. That's typically what it is.
Okay. All right. Sounds like everybody, anything else you'd like to see when that comes back? Okay, we were on impact fee. Implement citywide tax on paid parking. How many of you would like to see that come back on a future agenda? 1, 2, 3. Okay, what would you like to see on that item when it comes back? I'll start with you, Councilmember Oxker.
We had at one point, and then we backed off, the council backed off on it, and that's, would this include Highline College?
We can exempt them if you'd like, but we could bring back those options.
I'd like to see the options. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Harris.
Do we already, the implication is that this will be cash positive for us? I'm just curious how much it will cost us to implement this kind of a thing. But
Yeah, we can take a look at that. Really, it would just probably be working with the, as far as the city-owned lots in the marina in Redondo, we'd be collecting an initial fee that would be on the tabs, but as far as doing hotels, we'd have to look at that. So we could bring that back probably.
Thank you.
Councilmember Mahoney, is that you? Go ahead.
The only thing I had, and it's probably pretty self-explanatory, is we do sell a lot of annual passes, and how that obviously is probably a straight tax off of it, but, and what that number is.
Right. Segueing off of that previous question, we had quotes on each of these bullets as we moved through the presentation, and I'm like on this one, it was 50,000. So now I'm curious: is that net, or is that just the revenue that we're expected to receive, but not including what we have to expend to collect that?
That is just what we would be collecting additionally.
So these are not net figures. So what I would like, if you can kind of give us net figures on these when you come back with this. This is going to give us 50K in revenue, but we're going to have to spend 20K to get it, right?
we can look at that. This one would be pretty negligible, if
Yeah.
anything.
But I mean,
yes, we can look.
now I have a new question on each
Okay.
bullet. So if it's negligible, that would be good to know.
Okay.
All right, anything else on this one? All right. Last but not least, swim utility tax increase, the last bullet. How many of you would like to see that come forward on another agenda? I've got 1, 2. Is that a question or a yes? Okay, Councilmember Harris.
What is the purpose of this increase? Is it to pay for more pipes and, build out and that, fixing things and so forth?
So this would be a tax that then goes to the general fund. So currently that 13% that's on there goes to the general fund. So being very transparent, we looked at every tool to generate revenue for the general fund. So this is simply a way to generate more revenue for the general fund.
Okay, thank you.
So do we still have 3 people that want to see that move forward, or just 2? Only 2. Okay, so that one is off the list. Okay, just in closing this segment, any further questions? Or yes, Councilmember Mahoney?
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing I'm gonna say, and I probably won't get the support for this right now, but I'm gonna call out the tiger in the room or the elephant in the room or whatever you want to say is, obviously these are all going to come before us after the analysis for council approval. The one thing I think we need to do, and we need to be very transparent about, is what is the gap along with our additional public safety needs, and what that would be to cover the gap and to add the additional law enforcement in some kind of levy format. It's going to have to be talked about, because even with all of these changes, there's still a gap. So we're going to need to know what that is, and I think it's important that we start talking about it now, because I think there's been a pretty exhaustive list of revenue situations we can, but without bringing that into the picture as a reality, as these things get realized, what that's going to be, we would be remiss in looking at every opportunity. And that would be something that's transparent now for the process when I hope it doesn't happen, but if that seems to be a request that future council needs to make, it's being talked about now and ongoing forward, so they understand what is going to be required to maintain the services or improve particular services. I think it's a reality, and if we ignore it, we're being irresponsible.
Thank you. Right, any comments from staff? You feel like you have enough information?
We will meet and go through which ones are sort of time-oriented, and we'll start bringing them back in. We won't bring them all back at once. We'll bring them back in chunks. And I do want to give a huge, huge thank you to Tim and Jeff. They did a tremendous amount of research to do
Thank
this.
you.
So big thank you to them, and that slide was my fault, not Jeff's.
Okay. So we are stretching our time here, but we are going to move into this planning commission discussion. I do want to say I plan on recommending that we only cover most of this discussion and maybe cut a portion of it to forward to a study session. So when we get there. All right. The purpose of this item is to gather feedback from the council regarding the formation of a planning commission. We're going to receive a presentation from Community Development Director Rebecca Deming.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Earlier this year, Council directed staff to start the process of establishing a planning commission. The item today is to have a discussion and get direction from Council on how they would like to form the commission so that staff can start drafting the ordinance, including the associated municipal code amendments. The Planning Commission is an advisory body to the Council. However, the Council still retains final decision-making authority on land use and planning and establishes the overall vision for the community that informs policy. Typically, the Planning Commission holds the required public hearings for items within their purview and then makes the recommendations to council. Today, staff is looking to get direction on the number of commissioners you'd like to see, term of the appointment, the background of members, and duties and responsibilities. In terms of the background of members, there are many different approaches that council can take. Council can look for commissioners that have experience with growth management, land use, housing, transportation, economic development, parks, or environmental management. Commissioners can just be residents, or there could be residency requirements in terms of how long they've lived in the city, a mix of landowners, renters, or could be a business owner. Some cities also try and have geographic representation across the city. For instance, appointment could target only one commissioner from each neighborhood at a time. Or there could be a hybrid approach or a combination of these. For duties and responsibilities, there is a wide range of approaches from different cities. Some reference just the RCW and their city code. Some make clear the purpose is to provide guidance and direction, review staff proposals, hold public hearings, and submit recommendations on land use matters. Included in the packet on page 136 is a proposed updated project review chart format that shows which permit types would be reviewed by the Planning Commission, specifically which would hold a public hearing at the Planning Commission. Additionally, council can add language that would allow for additional items to be reviewed by the Planning Commission for recommendation at the direction of City Council. Also included in the packet, which is a lot of language, is example language or proposed language that you guys can use that we put together as a starting place for discussion for duties and responsibilities. Also, we have example language for members' background. The next steps including us taking your feedback and drafting an ordinance and then having the public hearing. Happy to answer any questions and start the discussion.
Thank you. So I would like to organize this very similar to the previous discussion. However, if you have any clarifying questions that can't be covered in those bullets when we get to them, I'll open it up right now for that. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
I just want to fully understand the purpose of a planning commission is not to set the overall plan for the community, but rather to evaluate each project and their compliance with the plan or direction from the council. Is that a correct statement?
A lot of times the Planning Commission doesn't actually review projects. That's what the hearing examiner usually does. Most of the time, if you look at the chart, they're reviewing code amendments or comp plans and making that recommendation to the council. They do usually review development agreements, and so that's when it sometimes comes into a project-related review or a sub-area plan, that kind of thing, but it's not necessarily project-specific.
Thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
So, like, you know, 300 years ago when we started this comp plan deal, we only looked at a certain subset of the city. Would it be, in your mind, you know, appropriate for a planning commission to pick a section of the city and say, we're going to take a look at that and, you know, prepare some kind of information for the council, essentially speed up that kind of review of different areas of the city over time?
Usually a planning commission would not be sophisticated enough to prepare something. It would be more that they would have reviewed the chapter ahead of the council of the comp plan and made a recommendation for approval or made recommendation for changes from staff's initial draft and held the public hearing before it came to council. If you want to direct them to work with staff to review something, but they usually wouldn't put their own report together. It would be a review of staff's and making a recommendation.
Okay, maybe I misspoke, but I was just struck by the fact that we couldn't really look at every portion of the city. And so it might be the case that the council says, well, next year we're going to look at this part of the city? And then would it be a typical case to say, well, okay, planning commission, take it away for a while, and once it's been assigned to them?
That's correct. So if you wanted to add neighborhoods to the comprehensive plan, because that would be a process that would go through a planning commission, they would review it before it would come to council.
Thank you so much.
All right. We're good. We'll start with the bullets then. I had mine in this order to, I had number of commissioners, term of appointment, type of appointment was also in the discussion.
Yes,
Okay.
that's in the.
Okay. And then background of members and then duties. Okay. So number of commissioners, there's some recommendations in there. Does anybody have a recommend? Now, here again, this is recommendations to the staff to come back with a draft. So we're not making any final decisions. This will come back as a draft for further discussion. Councilmember Mahoney.
I recommend 5 commissioners. You're starting a new thing. It's always been tough to get volunteers. So that's why I said 5 was a good number to start with.
Okay, anybody disagree with that? I like 7. I think 7 is nimble, but it helps when people can't show up, you still have a decent quorum. Councilmember Grace Matsui.
I agree with 7 as well, and I think that you'll have a greater opportunity to get a broad representation of interests, backgrounds, geographic, and it would be difficult to have homeowners, renters, business owners, education, community, if you were limited to only 5 people.
Agreed. So, nods on 5. Nods on 7. I like 7. Okay, we like 7. But we can have a conversation and change it back if anybody feels strongly. Okay, term of appointment. Recommendations for term of appointment. Councilmember Mahoney.
I'd say if you're gonna do 7, 4 for 4 years, 3 for 2. A lot of times the advantage there, obviously, because you want to shift through you want to be able to do a transition with some people in the knowledge is one reason. And the other is there might be a couple people who are a little hesitant if you're going to go to 7, and them signing up for the 2-year terms might be more attractive to get more qualified people in.
So we will adjust the first one for a different amount, but the overall term after the first year, we're looking to find out whether you want 4 or 6 years overall, so.
4, I'm thinking 4. I'm a 4. Okay. Looks like a lot of us. Yeah. Okay, type of appointment. Anybody have a recommendation on that? I do too, but go ahead.
I wrote them down, so.
Yeah.
I liked the recommendations they had there. I think they do have to have some experience in construction, business.
Oh, it's not background of members, type of appointment, city council or
City
what was the other?
council?
City council I'm looking at.
Or the mayoral recommendation.
Or mayoral
Oh,
recommendation, yeah.
absolutely, be mayoral recommendation, just like everything else. Keep it consistent.
I kind of liked city council, and this is why, just because it's a little bit bumpy, and for trust and transparency, I like it to be, right now I would recommend city council, just because of where we're at. Councilmember Oxiger.
Madam Mayor, I agree with you.
Pardon?
I agree with you.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, I agree that council is probably the better way to go on this.
I think it's probably a little bit easier to do it the other way, but yeah, just where we're at right now. Okay. Okay, then background of members. Councilmember Mahoney, you started on that one.
Yeah, the background of members. Thank you. Background of members. This is reading through the material, you really need to have people that are qualified. It's not something you pick people off the street. I think they need to, the criteria you had listed was an excellent one. I'm not saying they have to have all, but they should have a component of some of those, because they're gonna understand the dynamics. And I speak from experience. When I came on council, I'd attended meetings for a few years, so I had a good idea. But as I was educated, we look at Councilmember Nutting, who's not here today, his building experience and expertise has been invaluable. And I think you're gonna need a component of that. I look at it as a football team where each position has a special skill, and you need that for the team. So all those recommendations, I think, need to be included. I think it might be decided that in the council's consideration, they can have one or all 7, but they need some of those. To be absent of those would be a mistake.
I'm going to go with Deputy Mayor Steinmetz and then Councilmember Grace Matsui.
I certainly think that all the council, the planning commission members should reside in the city. I think that's a gimme. I think that they should reside in the city. And I do think that there needs to be at least 1 or 2 positions on the council that are more at-large or a general orientation focused on the city. So a type of hybrid would be of more interest to me, but I would balance it out on people, if we're doing 7, 5 people that really have the background as laid out here before, and maybe 2 general knowledge residents of the city, but everybody should be a resident of the city who's on the planning commission.
So could you clarify when you're making these recommendations, if you're agreeing with the sample, the 6 items here, or if what you're recommending is something different? Because I can't remember the whole thing, so I'm trying to think now, I think that was already in there or not? So are you recommending anything different than the sample?
I am suggesting that out of the 5, or out of the 7.
Out of the 6. Out of the 7 people?
We have 7 members on the commission, that 5 of them have.
Is that different than what's here?
Yes.
Okay.
I am saying that 5 of them should have a background that's included in this list, and 2 of them don't need to. So it's a hybrid approach.
Is that different than, are you
I'm
looking at what's in the packet here? This example?
Something to respond to, but I think we're understanding what the deputy mayor.
You got it?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Thank you. I appreciate the discussion as outlined for us to get a starting point. I'm a bit uncomfortable with using terms like the background of the members. I think what we're talking about is eligibility criteria, or whether or not there are selection criteria that goes with it. And I would say that this, again, is kind of becoming an outlier, because you don't need to have a background in arts to be on the Arts Commission. You just have to be interested in arts in our city. And so I'm wondering if this does need to have a more developed selection criteria, or if it can be that general interest, knowing that many of us learn and pick up the skills that you need to have in order to be a productive member. Much like Councilmember Mahoney said, he developed skills, was coached, taught, came to meetings, and then was able to get up to speed after a certain point in time. I'm also very concerned that if there is a large majority that fall into approach number 1, then we will not have a very representative commission that will look much like the broad diversity of folks that we have living in our city. And so I would be concerned that it would be very heavy on professionals that have very specific technical backgrounds, and you would be missing perhaps other lenses like community impact.
Councilmember Harris.
I would want it to be people who are not on any other advisory committee. I think it's extremely important that we start expanding the opportunities for service, and we've had a tendency to have people on, like, multiple things. And just from my experience watching the previous Planning Commission, the value proposition of Des Moines is the natural beauty, and it was a sort of a weak part that the people back then focused almost entirely on contracting and economic development. That was just the ethos of the time. And I think we're in a different spot now, and having people who have expertise in terms of parks and environmental stuff could be just as valuable as somebody who has a business in construction or real estate or what have you. Thank you.
Right. Any other input there? The sample that you provided in the packet did say that the first sentence says qualified by experience or interests in areas related to, so I think that covered that if you used the wording in the packet. And then in regard, in just my opinion, I think it is an option, one or the other, maybe more discussion about whether a business owner needs to reside in Des Moines. If you've got a business owner that lives in Normandy Park and has had a business in Des Moines for 25 years, I think that person would qualify. That would be my opinion, so it might be good for a discussion point. And I think the well-said comments by Councilmember Grace Matsui. So I looked over the sample, the 6 points of the sample that was provided in the packet, and I really liked it. I appreciate that somebody else did all that work already. So that's my vote on that. All right. Then in regard to the duties, though, there was an exhaustive amount of information, in my opinion, for the duties that was provided to us. And I felt a little bit unprepared to make a very thoughtful review of those, 5 pages, and I'm not prepared to give an opinion on that tonight, or have that, what could be a lengthy discussion. So I'm going to recommend, but if you don't, I'm going to recommend that we move that part of the discussion to the study session on October 2nd. And I've asked the city manager if we had time for that. Do you have a different opinion and input on that?
Rebecca will not be here on October 2nd. So let her and I
was just going to be at the Part 150, so if I can.
Let her and I figure something out, and we will come back.
Okay.
So we will get our heads together. Oh, she's going to be.
I was going to go to the Part 150 on that day because I wasn't able to.
Let her and I talk, and we will figure something out.
If that, only if the council is if you want to continue the conversation. Okay, Councilmember Harris?
I actually do have a request. I've been at this a while now, and, I couldn't tell you honestly the difference between a type 3 and a type 4 hearing, and I would just say if there was, just for my own edification, if there was a way to present a simple explanation of what the different types of things these people would be required to be looking at.
And that's what I tried to do with the new chart. That's why I tried to simplify it.
I'm trying to say it still, so thank you so much. Yeah.
Compliments, so really well done, because I think that is going to give us almost all, for me, would give me all the information I needed for a good conversation. So thank you for that. So if that's all right, then if we can, so that would be changing the agenda tonight, so I think we do need a vote to change. I'm going to make a motion to actually move that forward and relinquish the rest of the agenda for the evening. That would be my motion. Second. And we have a second. And any discussion on that? All right, with no further discussion, all in favor of making a motion to close tonight? Right, yeah, thank you for that hard word. Okay, Councilmember Oxiger, Councilmember Grace Matsui, it's unanimous, 6-0. So I will, this concludes our meeting for the evening. The next meeting will be on October 2nd, a city council study session. Please remember to pick up after yourself on your way out. Councilmember Oxiger, do we have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move.
Well, that was a motion to amend the agenda. It wasn't a motion to adjourn.
We did clarification for adjournment.
You just gave me the word.
Let's go with it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.